ENC or whatever, high efficiency codec. Yeah, we can try that one out. That's good. All right, I think we are live. We will see if it shows up on the YouTube
right now. Are we alive?
We are going to find out here.
I mean, I don't have the.
Let me go into the Zen dashboard. I gotta go to the dashboard. Why do I not have a dashboard?
There it is. That's us.
Okay, I'm confused.
Why
am I logged in the wrong account?
Are we?
Am I on the wrong? What's going on here? Did I mess up something?
Yeah, like we're letterboxed, or what is it when it's on the sides, not on the tops, but on the sides.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we're not filling. It's like, yeah, even your little. Well, no, I think that's.
Oh wait, I just opened up the stream and it looks perfect. It's 16 by 9 and everything.
I have bars on both sides. Like I have it full screen, and it.
Hey, chat. Do we look okay, or are we in a square box?
Oh no, weird. Full screen. It's right, but then like. Okay, it's just the window. I just not have noticed that before. That's my bad.
Looks fine on this side. Yeah, I was wondering if it was like something with the encoder settings. This is the first time I've streamed with this graphics card. So Death Sauce says he's two handsome gentlemen. So I guess so he's watching the wrong stream. Clearly.
Yeah, wrong stream. There should only be one handsome man on your screen. Hello.
Hey, you simmer down there. You simmer down now. Come on. Hey, my chubbiness takes the years right off until the gray hair gives it away.
That's right.
Oh gosh, happy Christmas Eve.
That's right.
It is Christmas Eve, right?
It is.
Let's all say hi and worship our mighty purple Santa Claus over here.
That's right.
Rocking his mama's hat, which is wonderful and welcome.
Shirt.
Nice. I wish I had. You know what? I used to have a Santa hat, and I have no idea what the hell happened to it, or I'd be wearing it right now. Yeah, I lost my Santa hat. Bah humbug. You know, I don't know what I'm doing these days. I need to get my holiday game up. We actually ended up not putting up the big tree either, just because things have been so stressful with all the health things going on, and with my dad and with my grandpa and everything. Everything just kind of got messed up. Yeah. And so we decided, like, because we were really approaching Christmas fast, we were like, you know what, we're gonna put up the little tree. So we got the little tree up.
Man, yeah,
just too much.
I gotta say, I'm ready for this one to be over and start.
I am too.
Start some good shit next year, man.
Yep. I just want to get beyond New Year's. I think that's going to be the great mental reset. It usually is. Like that's one thing with me is whenever I get through New Year's, it feels like everything just gets lifted off my shoulders. It's weird. I don't know the significance of a single day, but it's almost like for me, it's like I feel like the entire country is just building up in stress towards like this holiday, right? And then it's winter, weather's getting shitty. You know, you got gas in the generator. You know, you got some storms coming and stuff. Things like it just all compounds. Less sunlight, so you start getting the seasonal depressive disorder, and then it all comes to a head. And then that big apple drops, and it's just like boosh, new year, brand new, clean slate, first day of 365 to turn everything around.
Yeah.
And even if you don't turn everything around, it just feels like a weight is lifted. Yeah. And it just for me, it's like it's a big thing. Yeah. And going into it for me, after literally one of the worst months of my life, I mean, with everything that's gone on, is a big deal. Is a really, really big deal. And I'm going in strong too. Like I really did not expect to have the backing and support that I did. From not just my followers, but just like the like companies, community, everything. Everybody had my back on this. And so it's like, you know, I'm going into 2024 rocking, you know, my 4090. So now I'm unblocked on all my AI projects. Nice. I've got a $5,000 Dexter HD. It's going to be my cameraman robotic arm in a box that's coming out here pretty soon. Cool. I've got the new 3D printer that's built that we just got to do the calibration on. Unfortunately, we got called off on that because of what was going on with my dad and stuff. But now that he's feeling better, we can start getting back to it. Yeah. And so it looks like my dad's kind of out of the woods for the moment.
Good.
That was fast and crazy and just all over the fucking place. Like 1 minute he was gonna die, and then the next minute it's like they sent him home. Like what? So, but what it looked like is they thought he had internal bleeding from an organ or something like that. That was bleeding inside of him because he had blood literally pooling under his skin and his chest. And he couldn't breathe because it was putting pressure on his lungs. And he had 2 lung infections. He had a bacterial and a viral infection, and both were advanced, meaning that he needed antibiotics like a month ago when he got it, and he never got it. It just kept getting worse. So he would have died. So he went to the hospital. They treated the 2 infections, the one with antibiotics and the other one with whatever they give you for virus shit, strengthen your immune system, I guess. And luckily he responded really well. Wasn't expecting that.
Good.
And but he still couldn't breathe. Like he was still struggling to breathe because of his blood. And they found out the blood was coming. He completely tore his pectoral muscle in half from the back side. Man. So like his pectoral muscle was ripped. And what happens is like, if you stop moving long enough, the muscle will like scab together basically.
Yeah.
And then it stops bleeding. And then you're like, but then you have to stay like that for a long time to heal.
Right. Yeah.
Well, my dad was just like, oh, I stopped bleeding, so I'm going to get out of the hospital. And then he'd go and like drive his car and shit and rip it again. And so, good, yeah, he had to go to the hospital, go back to the hospital twice with a new tear. Yeah. And the doctors were like, listen, dude, if you cannot fucking hold still and settle down, once they finally confirmed it, it took 3 freaking scans to find it. Once they finally confirmed it, because they got like a doctor knew what the hell they were doing in there. He's like, if you can't stay still, we'll basically just have to like keep you in the hospital chained to the bed, like you're to heal. Yeah. So they're like, but if you can manage to go home and just lay down and let somebody else take care of you for a couple of weeks, you'll be fine. Like pectoral muscle will heal. We won't have to do surgery.
Right.
But if you come in here one more time, we're gonna gut you. We're gonna cut you open. We're gonna sew that sumbit shut, and you're not gonna like it. That's gonna be a way longer recovery time. And so far, I guess he's been pretty good. Like my aunt is taking care of him. She set up a room for him at her house, and he's staying over there. Right. So, and he hasn't called me or texted me in 5 days, which is pretty typical for my dad.
When he's a good sign, right?
So it's a good sign. It's a good sign. When dad's calling you every 10 minutes and crying on the phone, you know dad's dying. When dad just goes back to ignoring you like usual, you know he's feeling pretty good. So, so for me, that was a huge relief. So, and then after that, you know, my grandpa just had died, 2 weeks before this happened. And so my dad was like trying to go to the funeral, but then he was in the hospital, and that's why he kept getting himself out of the hospital and getting in more trouble. Finally, they talked him into staying in the hospital. And then my uncle Gary, who's his twin brother, went in and recorded him doing his saying goodbyes and stuff for the funeral. And then they played that on a projector at the funeral for him.
Aww.
And so that kind of gave him what he needed to like get through that so that he could stay in the hospital and heal. Because I was on the phone just like crying, like, Dad, stay in the hospital. Like, if you drop dead at that funeral, then what's that going to do for your dad's memory? Like, everybody's going to remember that my dad died when your dad died. Like saying goodbye. It's like, it doesn't work, Dad. It's like, you got to stay put. So the rest of the family sided with me, of course. But yeah, luckily we got through that, and that was okay. And then after all that, the stress from it somehow caused me to give myself a hernia.
Yeah. So, hey, man, it happens.
Yeah. So I like tore through my wall here. I don't know if you guys can even see it here. Look, like right here. Let me see if it's doing it today. Yeah, you can kind of see it right here. There's a basketball thing sticking out right here. Like,
sure.
Like
yeah. Okay.
And it's where the muscle tore through the lining, my abdominal wall. And so I looked, it doesn't heal. Like I figured it'd just heal, right? Nope. Apparently, once you get a hernia, you have to have surgery. So, but it's a non-life threatening hernia, so I can put off surgery. And plus, they said they'd rather do it when I lose like 100 pounds.
Sure.
So it's not in a dangerous place. If it was a lower hernia, then there'd be a risk of my intestine like getting stuck in it or something.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and if it gets stuck in, if your intestine gets pinched, it literally dies within like 24 hours, and then they have to like cut out your intestine and sew it back together. It's a whole big deal. So, but they said where this one is, as long as the pain says they said as long as the extreme pain subsides after a couple of days, you probably won't need surgery immediately. So I rested and I slept, and that's why I disappeared. If you guys are wondering why I haven't been on Twitch and I've barely been making this live stream the last couple of weeks, it's because I've been on bed rest.
Good.
And because every time I got up, I would injure it more, like it would tear more. And so I finally just said, screw it, started taking just massive melatonin, Ambien, like everything I could to just sleep like 18 hours a day. And after doing that, the pain finally subsided. And it took probably 8 or 9 days total. But now I feel like I'm pretty much where I was before the tear, like the pain level wise. I still have the alien baby trying to stick out of me every time I do a sit up, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. And then I remembered I talked to my sister, and she reminded me that my mom had the exact same hernia. How weird is that?
Man.
The exact same. Weird. When my mom was 40, she had I think it's called like I'm not sure if it's the exact same one I have, but I think she called it a hiatal hernia or something like that, where you get a hernia above the belly button, and it usually manifests like a grapefruit like thing sticking through your abdomen. And I was like,
can you like poke at it? Like,
like if I sit up, if I do a crunch like this, I can feel it's like a little grapefruit. It's like hard as a rock.
Okay. I was gonna ask, like, is it like hard, like a That's crazy.
It feels like a contracted muscle. It feels like a contracted muscle. But then if I relax, I can still feel it and like push it around, which is weird. Like, it's bizarre. Dude. It's bizarre. But if I tension it up, it like locks into place. Like it does. You could move it if you wanted to, but if I relax, I can like slide it around back and forth.
That's so weird. And like kind of interesting. Like,
it's kind of gross.
Bodies are so weird. you know?
Yeah, if I didn't have all the weight on me though to conceal it, like it would literally just look like I have a grapefruit under my skin, like walking around. Because I looked at some pictures of people that had a similar hernia that weren't heavy,
so, like,
that weren't heavy
what
people.
What is
and
it exactly that went wrong? Like, what is a like I've heard of like
so what
herniated
happened?
discs, like in your vertebrae, but where like it's like the
So
soft
hernia is just
spot,
a
like,
fancy word for protrusion. That's all.
okay, so
It
like
basically
something
means
got
that it's moving
smooshed.
outside of the boundaries it's supposed to be in.
So
So what
is it a
happens?
muscle then that is out of place?
Yeah.
Like
So
some ab
my
muscle is like,
muscle is pushing through the abdominal wall. So you have this. You think of a
yeah,
membrane.
there's like a sheath under your
Think of it like
skin.
a bag. You have a
Yeah.
bag under your skin that holds all your organs, right?
Yeah.
Well, I tore that bag, but there's no blood. There's no blood in the bag. The organs have no blood in the bag. It's just a void, right?
Stuff in there, yeah.
So what happened is probably when I sat up or something really hard, or I lifted something really freaking heavy, my muscles just basically got so tight and there wasn't enough room in there to move around that it just went and just popped out the side.
Oh, what a trip.
And I think that honestly, I've had it for years. It just this time I injured it so bad, that's what put me in excruciating pain. But it felt like inside of my body, like I had something like at the top, not in my groin, but like right above my groin. It felt like I had like a rope holding something down there, like tied to it, like tied to something in my upper belly. And so every time I was walking, anytime I moved, anytime I tried to roll over or shift my weight or anything, it felt like this rope was just pulling super tight and going bang, like it's hard to explain, but it's so tight. It was the sensation of like imagine if you did 100 sit-ups and you hurt yourself, like you pulled a muscle and then you had to keep doing sit-ups. That's what it felt like 24/7. And I couldn't get get away from it. No pain meds were helping with it. Nothing. It fucking sucked. But I was really scared because they said if the pain doesn't go away, then you have to get it operated on, like ASAP. Like so I was like,
oh yeah. Here's what it said. Yeah, when one of your organs pushes through the muscle or tissue that contains. Oh
yeah, it can be fat, it can be muscle, it can be the organ itself that pushes through. Like it's just something going through that abdominal wall that's not supposed to. And so I still have to go in and get imaging done for them to confirm it. But when I talked to the online nurse or whatever, she's like, yeah, pretty much anytime you can feel a bulge just like sticking out of your abdomen that's not supposed to be there, it's usually a hernia.
Okay.
Like there's not a lot of other conditions unless you have like a cancer growth or something like that, in which case it wouldn't be this perfectly spherical round spot. So so they're fairly certain that it's non-life threatening. But they said if it ever hurts, they said if the pain ever comes back again, though, that I have to go to the emergency room immediately, because they said if the pain subsides and then suddenly just all comes back all at once again, it's like so then the chances are I might have an organ pinned or
something, huh?
Yeah, and they said if you pinch an organ, like I didn't know this, but like if you like even your intestine, like if you fold your intestine even in half and like squish it where it's where nothing can flow through, the blood flow, if the blood flow stops, kind of like if you sleep on your arm or something like that, if any blood flow stops to your intestines, they just die like fast. Like within 24 hours, you've just killed a section of your intestine. They basically all they can do is cut it off, rip it out, and then like run the hose down and sew it back on. So it's like you would lose a lot of intestine if you pinched it and it lost circulation. Wow. So they're like, but they said it'll always present with a shitload of pain and you won't be able to fart and you won't be able to take a dump. So they're like, if you can't fart and you can't take a dump and you've got this excruciating pain, get to the hospital, because then what they can do is sometimes they can get the externally they can maneuver it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it's like a chiropractor or something where they just roll you around and poke you and punch you in the abdomen and stuff, but they'll try to get it to release through your skin. And then if not, then they can do a exploratory where they basically just take this little robotic arm thing or whatever. They cut a hole in you, stick a robotic arm in there, inflate your abdomen, and then they just go poking around in there trying to untangle it.
Oh,
so
I mean, man, that's so interesting.
It's fairly common though. I didn't realize this, but yeah, I guess pinching a bowel is something that like happens to a lot of people.
I've heard, or even getting them like twisted.
Yeah,
like sometimes like
twisted.
It'll just like.
Oh yeah, like a sausage casing. Yeah, that's a bad one. That's a bad one, dude.
If it just happens.
It
just happens. Like you can just not be doing anything. Just do it sitting there. And
you'd think you could just like push really hard, like oh man, I got a shit sore, and just like untwist that thing. But no, it doesn't work like that. It's like once it's twisted, it becomes, what do they call it, a mobile bowel or whatever, where like it just stops doing. Your bowel has like musculature in it that moves the stuff through it. Think of it like a worm, right? Like the body's contracting and pushing things through it, like a snake eating a mouse or whatever. If you twist it, that mechanism doesn't work anymore. And so you can't move anything anymore. So everything just becomes stagnant. And so you lose blood flow, you move mobility, and then it just starts rotting. And I'm like, dude, that would just suck. And my sister, unfortunately, has Crohn's disease. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. But Crohn's disease, she's had to have over 5 foot of her intestine removed in 3 different surgeries. So she's missing, and she's a tiny little thing. She's only like 5'2",
35 feet or something. So a couple is not going to matter too much, but that's still, it's like, damn,
yeah, but
man,
still, you think about it, it's like, dude, she's only 5'2", so just 2 inches shy of her body length has been removed from her bowels. And so what happens, luckily they got medication now, like medication's gotten so good now, like now they can manage it completely with medication, so her bowel isn't rotting anymore. But what happens with Crohn's disease is your body basically sees your bowel as like a cancer, like a foreign body, and just attacks it.
Oh man, so that's so fucking weird.
Yeah, your immune system literally just goes ham and starts eating your intestines. And so she has to be on the same type of medication you get when you get an organ transplant, but like a lesser amount of it, right? Basically, to tell your body not
immunosuppressant kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, just an anti-rejection medicine.
Yeah.
And so they got it dialed in good now, where she doesn't get like really sick all the time or anything, but it's still keeping the bowel from rotting anymore. But she had to have 3 surgeries before they figured that out. And each time they went in, it took like a couple inches to a couple of feet. And I remember like going in and seeing her, and she was in so much pain. Like I've never seen a person in that much pain before, where they basically gave her one of those pain buttons where you can push it like every like 5 minutes.
A little morphine drip.
And she's just sitting there crying and like writhing in pain, just doing this to the button the whole time. No sleep. Knows it like just 24/7, just going like this, trying to get to that next dose. And then she'd get the dose, and it would maybe give her 30 seconds of relief, and she's back to strangling for like 5 minutes. Dude, and the only thing,
I'm looking at some of these pictures of what is this? This of a ventral hernia. Looks like in that sort of area.
Yep.
Holy cow, man!
Some of these looks like a grapefruit sticking out.
No, like they got this picture of one dude where it's like his whole guts is coming out of his. Guts. It's like the whole
sack. Don't go to Bing Images and type in ventral hernia.
That holds all of your guts is like coming out where his belly button is. This is horrible.
That's what it is. I do have a ventral hernia.
Yeah, it's got just looking at some of these pictures of like the location of it and stuff. And some of these are horrible though. Like seriously, straight up, like worse than alien coming out of your fucking chest. Kind of thing. This is horrible.
So check this out, guys. No, I'm glad that you just found that, because I was looking at all different hernia types, and I found like the ones that look like a grapefruit. I found one that is absolutely what I have. Like it's flawless.
Yeah,
it's a perfect match.
Right.
Let me see if I can send this link to you guys. So like, this one best illustrates what I have.
Horrendous. Like some of these are scary. I mean, none of this is like putting me off my dinner.
But dude, we've both seen Cake Farts, 2 Girls, 1 Cup, Pain Olympics. Man, we've seen it all, right?
Like, I'm just shocked at some of these. Like, damn, that's gotta suck. Like, the words, I don't have proper words for like. No. I feel bad. This dude's like a little guy. Kind of. I'm like. I don't know how I can't send you this particular picture.
So the good news is this actually looks like it's really easy to repair. I mean, it's a surgery still. They still have to put you under anesthesia and stuff.
Sure.
But where's this ventral hernia, it looks like all they have to do is pull back the skin and fat layer, jam the little thing back into its pouch.
Yeah, just get it back in there and repair the hole.
And then just sew it, right? Yeah, and then it looks like it's all superficial. So yeah, I'll probably go get that fixed then, because sadly, I'm looking at some of these other pictures, and it does look like the intestine can work its way up.
I'm gonna send this link to Twitter, because this is NSFW like high order, man.
Okay, all right.
Like this particular picture, I'm like, holy moly,
holy shit! This is exactly what I have. I found another one of an actual man who has what I have. Here, let me copy image link. Okay, I'm gonna put another one in chat. Don't worry, guys. These aren't NSFW. These ones are fine.
The one I sent is.
The one you sent is
this is gratuitous. This is PG-13 at least. It looks fake. It looks fake. My brain is having a hard time.
Did you post it?
It's in the Twitter. I put it in the Twitter.
Let me grab this. Okay, so all right,
that's just a link to the photo. Yeah, I told you. No. I told you. Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's put that in the fucking chat, right? No.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Right. I told you, it's like the whole sack is coming up out of his guts.
Dude, it's like all of his guts are on the outside.
And that's why I'm like, that's got to be fake. Like, this got to be like just an example.
Oh,
but it looks legit. Like they got him wearing the little loincloth and stuff. Like,
I'm gonna go get surgery. I'm gonna go get surgery, dude. Because imagine that the only difference between this picture and me is mine is from here to here. If it just ripped and went down to here,
who knows how they unzippered that guy? Like. Because like, did that happen while he's just sitting there eating Cheetos, or did that happen like as part of the surgery? You know what I mean? Like he's standing.
There's no way that was the surgery. Dude. He went in like
that. Yeah,
he went in like that.
Yeah,
like they wouldn't have him standing like that after surgery if that's what I mean. He went in like that.
Turn off your safe search and you find this picture on your own. The whole right, like. I'm sure that's an extreme case, like
my god,
just for shock value or whatever. But
so here's I found a picture. The previous one I posted was an illustration. Here's an actual picture of a guy. He's not as obese as I am, He's not as obese as I am, but look in chat, guys, at this link right here. Here's a picture of exactly what I have on a skinnier person. So, and it's a laparoscopic ventral hernia repair. And it's in the exact same spot. Mine is just ever so slightly further to the left.
Yeah, more central.
But yeah, same spot, same exact spot, right above the belly button. And that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like it's just a ball sticking out. So in mine, it's like apparent when I relax, but because I have such a big belly, it's when I sit up. When I go to do a sit up, it like sticks up out of the front like an alien. I call it my little alien baby. That's so crazy. So Miss Barnacules, she freaked out the other night. She looked over at me and I was like, and I tensed up my ab muscles to sit up. And I was looking at it and she looked over and she hadn't gotten a good look at it other than me just standing. And she's like, whoa, like she was like, no, that's not cool. Like, you got to go get that looked at. But thank goodness, everything I'm reading here says that as long as like guts aren't sticking through there, like, and it's just fat or muscle, it's not that big of a deal.
Sure.
And they do prefer you to lose weight before they operate. So although this one
makes it easier, right?
Yeah.
All around.
Luckily, this one isn't deep though, because you can get hernias where it's like they're so bad and so much musculature is stuck through there that they have to do major surgery to correct it. This is a matter, literally all they would have to do is just go like wink across there, right? They wouldn't even do that. They probably laparoscopically do it. They just do like two itty bitty little holes. They'd go in there, grab the fat and muscle, and just shove it back in the hole, pull the two little flapperdoodles together, and then just suture it. And then they'd close me back up, and I'd be ready to go. I bet you the surgery wouldn't even take like 45 minutes. So I'm not too worried about it. I don't like going under anesthesia, though. Anesthesia is what creeps me out. Like the surgery itself, not so bad. Anesthesia is what freaks me out.
That was the coolest thing. I was shocked. I've only done
when you wake up from it, it's awesome. But I'm just afraid I won't wake up from it sometimes.
Yeah, that was the whole fear, I was so cool. I liked the crazy surgery. The little hernia. Achilles surgery I had was rad from start to finish. That was really cool experience.
Well, I'm glad we did Tech Talk today because you actually got the name perfectly. I was trying to figure out which hernia it was. I thought it was a hiatal hernia.
I just typed in abdominal at first, and then it's like, oh, there's like an umbilical one. There's like the body depending, and then there's like a groin one and stuff. And it's like, oh,
yeah. Don't let them put me under. They have to. Like, they can't do a hernia operation in the guts,
dude. Yeah. You have to be. Unless you're gonna paralyze somebody from the neck down.
Yeah, because you have to realize it's not like they're just cutting the skin open. They have to go through all the fat layers, everything down to the organ sac, and then sew the organ sac back together. So that's not something they can really do with a local.
The thing to think about is like it goes skin, subcutaneous. I'm looking at a little diagram, so this is not just coming off my thing. So there's the skin, and then there's subcutaneous fatty tissue,
which is pretty thick, even on a skinny person. It's fairly thick.
And then there's your muscles. Right. And what's happened is that there's a tear in the muscle, and the sac that holds all your guts where there ought to be has poked through that hole in the tear in the muscle. That's Oh,
dude, Meat Puppet give us $20 earlier.
Oh shit, no,
bro.
Sounds made up. Oh, thanks, man.
He said Merry Christmas to you both. Hopefully you got. Oh wait, why am I hearing myself double? Hold on. Audio. There we go, fixed. Here, does this work? Here, let's see.
I don't know. Anesthesia is probably scared than surgery. I mean, I don't hear a doubling. That's you. Whoa.
Okay. Oh, do you still hear me doubling or
no? Hello? I have not since we fixed it before the stream.
Oh, there we go. I got lights now. Yay! We got to get lights for the money. Let's see here. James Janus said lifted something heavy, your 300-pound gut. Yeah, no, I do have a 300-pound gut because I am last I checked, I'm 375 pounds, which is actually down a little bit. Actually, I lost 10 pounds.
Nice.
One good thing that came from I guess you'd call it a good thing that came from the hernia is my appetite got completely fucked. Like I could not eat because I was just in so much pain. It was making me feel nauseous.
Yeah.
So I barely ate for like days and days and days. So once the pain finally subsided, I wouldn't stood on scale. I lost 11 pounds in like a week.
Hey,
it turns out you don't eat. And then my stomach must have shrank up from me not eating because now it's like every time I sit down for a meal, I can only eat half of it and I put the other half back in the fridge and have to eat it later.
Hey, that's not bad. Right on.
Yeah, just anything that gives your stomach time to shrink, right?
Yeah.
Valley Brand said there's definitely a possibility, Barn, and it's happened many times under anesthesia. You're right about that. Oh yeah, about people like not waking up.
Oh sure.
Yeah.
That's I mean, it was a risk for me. Even like it's not a perfect science.
And here's the thing: before people are like, "Oh yeah, people go into anesthesia every day, and it's like perfectly safe by the numbers and everything." The thing you have to realize though is I have some things that make anesthesia particularly more dangerous for me than you. Okay, number one, I'm obese. that means that they have to use a lot more. I have more blood volume, so they have to use a lot more propofol and some of the other things to put me under and to hold me under. So for anesthesiologists, I'm a hard case because one, my heart has to work harder to pump that blood, and I have more of it, which means they have a narrower window with the anesthesia to keep me in the butter zone. Granted, they will have me on a breathing machine, right? So like if something goes wrong, they can just intubate me and just let the machine breathe for me until I come around. That happens all the time. But the other thing that's with me is that I'm also opiate tolerant. Because I've had to take opiates for pain, for chronic pain conditions they can't correct for going on 15 years now. The amount of anesthesia that they have to give me is even bigger than what they'd have to normally give to a guy my size. So it's like doubled and then redoubled. So they actually have it on my record. Like when I go to the hospital, my record reflects that if they give me a normal dose of anesthesia, it'll be ineffective at putting me under.
Wow.
And usually they still try. They'll give me the anesthesia and I'll just be like, yeah, I'm feeling a little bit, and they're like, okay, why are you not out? And then the anesthesiologist, well, I can't blame a guy for trying, and then he gives you the second dose. But they shouldn't do that, because what happens is if they don't knock you out with that initial dose, you become anxious, and then you start fighting it, and then they have even more. So you really don't want that. You don't want the anesthesiologist to miss. You want him to take you down with that first dose, because if he doesn't, then you start getting anxious, your metabolism comes up, your heart rate comes up, and then they have to push even more of the drug to get you under, and then holding you under is trickier. But the thing is, what they do before surgery to minimize the chance of you dying under anesthesia is they hyperoxygenate your blood. So they put you on 100% oxygen for like an hour before you go into surgery. You'll be on a cannula getting 100% oxygen, and what it does is it just builds up an excess supply of oxygen in your red blood cells. And the reason that they do that is so that you can survive a lot longer and buy them more time to hook up the life support if they need to. So like if you're in surgery and for whatever reason your blood pressure crashes and you stop breathing, your heart stops or whatever, you have more time for them to actually hook up the machine and get you going again before you die. So that's another safeguard. They have a lot of safeguards in place to like stop you from dying. But the one that's the mystery, and this is why it's scary, is they don't understand why this happens. But some people will just randomly just go completely brain dead and flatline under anesthesia, and they can't get them back no matter what they do.
Bonkers. That's so weird.
And it can be somebody who's had 20 surgeries and they're perfectly fine. And then 21st surgery, they put them under anesthesia, their heart stops, their brain stops sending the signal to the heart, and nothing they do brings it back.
Crazy.
Yeah. So and that's the mystery around anesthesia, is we don't know how it works. We don't fully understand it. Like, go look. And like I thought that we 100% understood like exactly how it works on the brain, how it puts us into that state where we don't remember things and how we lose it. No. It's like we know more about it than we did 20 years ago or 100 years ago. We still don't fully understand how the hell anesthesia does what anesthesia does.
Yeah,
it's like
I think that's why the anesthesiologists get paid so much. It's like it's huge. It's more of a skill, or you know what I mean. It's like
most people don't realize
to
be an anesthesiologist, I think you have to go to school the same amount of time as the surgeon.
I imagine it's like
four years minimum, 8 years
involved. You got to figure out. Yeah.
Yep. And not only that, once you complete school, you have to shadow another anesthesiologist for like a year. So where they basically look over your shoulder and tell you what to do and everything. And if you fail, like if you fuck up a bunch and they have to keep safety netting you, and then it doesn't matter how much school you got, you're booted. You don't get to be an anesthesiologist. Man. So it's one of those fields where it's really expensive to be one. And if you fuck up and you don't take it seriously, all that money's down the drain because it's not transferable. What are you going to do? Like you fail anesthesia after going to school for like 4 years for it. Like, it's not like you're just gonna go, can I be a surgeon instead? It's like, no, you just lose that. Oof. So that's why they get paid so much, is because just how much time and money goes into being an anesthesiologist. And they do fuck up a lot. They do put this way, I've only been in surgery. Let's see. Okay. I got my appendix removed and I've got a deep vein thrombosis, which I was awake for, by the way. That was a conscious.
They just numb your leg out and then
no. They give you a massive dose of like painkiller, but not enough to put you under.
Okay.
And then they basically ride the edge of that. Well, the guy like operates on your arm and puts things up in your veins and stuff, but you can still feel everything that's happening. It's really creepy, but even my anesthesiologist fucked up during that operation, and he didn't give me the meds before they started operating. So they literally operated on me without anesthesia. I started screaming bloody murder. Two big dudes, like orderly dudes, like the nurses that were in there for the surgery, had to pin me down because if I had kept thrashing, I would have damaged the vein, because they literally had a wire sticking up into my chest. And so they had to basically pin me down while the anesthesiologist was running over with my dose. Then he gives me my dose, and guess what? Nothing happens. because the dose he gave me was designed for me to be calm.
Yeah,
and to go
you're like adrenaline down.
And I was adrenaline out, freaking out. So then he had to go back and while I'm screaming bloody murder, prepare a second dose, which this isn't something quick. It's not like he just runs over there and just puts some shit in the syringe and runs over. He has to recalculate everything. How much have I given him? What's his current heart rate? What's his current blood pressure? How's he responding to the current dose we gave him? So I'm sitting there for like 5 minutes while they're pinning me down. I'm crying. I'm screaming, please help me, kill me, kill me, kill me. And then he finally comes over and gives me the second dose. Guess what happens? I fucking pass out. So now I wake up to the nurse slapping the shit out of me. Hey, come on, wake up, Mr. Berg. Wake up. I'm stay with us, because during the operation you have to answer questions. That's why they keep you awake. Because if you have a blood clot breaks off from the surgery they're doing, which is very common with this, it goes into your brain, and then you're like, aneurysm, and then you die. So they have to ask you questions for the whole surgery, and then the dude basically put me out cold. So then they had to give me some medication to reverse some of the anesthesia, but not enough to completely reverse it because they still had the wire up inside of my arm. So yeah, that was like the worst surgery. Like I still have PTSD and have nightmares about it years later. And it was such a fucked up surgery. They didn't even charge my insurance. They basically told the insurance that like the operation, they're not even going to charge for it. They didn't even do an invoice, nothing, because they didn't want to get sued. In hindsight, I should have sued the shit out of them, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, so think about that. That anesthesiologist caused me all that pain and misfortune. So you'd think, okay, that's a rare occurrence. That doesn't happen to a lot of people. So my wife, when she gave birth to my son, Xander, she's in there and she got it's what do they call that, teaching hospital, the hospital we were at. So the anesthesiologist was a first year student that, had all their, or sorry, not first year student, first year on the job working on real people, like
in the public, right? Or whatever. Yeah.
Residency. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And so they were shadowed by a real anesthesiologist. This lady like stabbed my wife in the back trying to give her an epidural, which is into the spine. You're literally sticking into the spine.
That's a fun one. But they kind of did something similar for my leg to for the ankle thing.
Could you imagine if they missed 4 times?
Oh man,
hitting
dude, it, that's horrendous.
So they're basically filling her up with anesthetic in all the wrong places, right? Because they're sticking the needle in, they're juicing her, and do you feel anything? Nope, like, I still feel my legs. I still feel my legs.
Your rib is like one rib goes numb, and then like your left eye, and like
the whole time she is so uncomfortable because keep in mind, like they're about to do emergency C-section because like my son's in distress. And so she's already panicking. So they can't get the epidural in the right spot. They finally get it in what they think is the right spot. And they lay her down and start cutting her open, and she screams bloody murder. And they're like, she's not supposed to feel anything. Like this epidural is supposed to like they can saw you in half and all you feel is pressure, right? If they do it right. They did it completely wrong. So then the other doctor that was shadowing the anesthesiologist had to bump the resident out of the way and like take over with his 30 years of experience or whatever. And then he had her all worked out. It was crazy though. Like if you want to know how fast anesthesia works, holy shit. Like, dude. Seconds. It's crazy. Like I'm sitting there next to my wife holding her hand while she's crimping down on me and screaming. They got like a curtain up or whatever, and they start cutting her open. She's like, oh my God. And they're like, do you feel that? Yeah. Oh my God. She's crying or whatever. The anesthesiologist literally grabs like a tube of white shit, like jams it into the thing and just goes like this. And she is just like out.
James
it was instantaneous.
He's got a question. James is asking, is it possible to fight anesthetic? Like you can feel it working, but you through sheer power fight it and don't go to sleep, whatever.
Only to a certain extent. In my
very limited experience. And there's like different types too, right? So there's like you can do like a topical anesthetic where like it's like a goo that just numbs something out. Like if they're just gonna laser off something, right?
We're talking about is general anesthesia,
and then there's like local
Mhm.
anesthetic where like that's like if you're getting something done like in your teeth or something, right?
They'll
numb out just like half your face. It's not even your whole face. It's just like right here. And then general is like your whole self, and you can't fight that. Like you're going out. But some people have like woken up afterward, right? Or like during, because like it's a balance. Like they're constantly like fiddling and stuff. It's not just a boop, here you go and you're done for 3 hours. Like they have to constantly monitor your signs, and they're adjusting shit and stuff. Like I said, it's not a perfect science. It's like an art. It's like it's a skill.
You can fight it. You can fight anesthesia, but you're not going to win the battle.
No,
like the best you're ever going to do is just stay awake for a few more seconds. Like in the end, there's no way you can win.
It's such a trip. It's so again, limited experience. There's only one time that I ever like get unconscious, and it went exactly the way that the guy described it.
I've been put under, I think, 4 times in my life. 2 times for surgery, and then blink. 2 times for other things in the hospital.
It's not like how the movies were like, or at least for me, I didn't like feel it coming. It didn't slowly like fade out.
No, there's no fade. It's just a light switch.
He goes, yeah. He's like, look, you're gonna start puffing, and I gotta smush this real hard onto your face because of your beard and stuff. But you're gonna be breathing, and then the next thing you know, it's gonna be 5 hours later, and you're gonna be in a different room. And that's exactly how it went. Like it was a blink, and then holy shit, I'm somewhere else. Instant time travel.
The scariest thing was
the epidural was rad though. That was the mind blow for me. Like they took an ultrasound, they're showing me like my leg, and they're like, okay, you see this circle piece here? That's like the main like nerve trunk in your leg.
Your sciatic nerve that goes down into your leg.
And they get the needle going in again, like a local, so I don't feel them stick me.
You still feel it though.
A little, yeah. There's always like a little.
It's not bad though.
And then he's like, now watch this. We surround the nerve bundle with this stuff, the anesthetic, and you can watch them as like a little
they just
bubble,
squirt it in little pockets.
Bubble. And he goes, what's happening? What this stuff does is it blocks the signals. This stuff. So like you're still technically feeling pain. Yeah, it's like it's never going to reach your brain. Is the thing. It just doesn't, and your brain, and that was the coolest part. It just disappeared.
Yeah, it's like my leg just feel a limb. Like a limb is there. You just don't feel anything happening to it. It's weird.
And it was the trippiest thing to like.
Oh, Matthew, thank you so much.
Suddenly, my fucking leg just disappears. It's gone.
Dude, it's weird.
And I'm like poke at it and stuff. I'm like, that's the trip. You can't even feel the pressure of it. Like.
No, it feels like you're touching somebody else's leg, doesn't it? Yeah. Like it feels like you're touching another person's leg. It's
even the skin signals aren't making it past the goo that they put around the nerve. And I'm like, that's amazing. That's so freaking cool, man.
Yeah, like when they did the thrombosis on my arm, when they did the anesthesia correctly the first day, all I could feel was the buzzing in my chest from the little actuator they put in there. So you know how your cell phone has the little motor in it that makes it shake to ring? Imagine a microscopic version of that on the end of a wire that they feed into your vein, literally into your vein. They go in right here at the joint of the arm. They cut a little hole, little tiny incision, and they stick a tube in there into the vein, and it widens it up. It opens up the vein a little, and then they slide a catheter into the vein with a little, like with wires and everything, with this little motor, and it goes all the way up across your shoulder into your chest, right next to your heart, right here. And you're sitting there, and you feel. It feels like a phone is laying on your chest, vibrating and ringing.
Oh, weird.
And it does that for 3 days, nonstop, 24/7. Because they tape your arm and you're immobilized because you can't move. Because if you move, it can get away from the clock.
Tear some shit.
Yeah, it's really dangerous. So for 3 days, it's a really unpleasant experience because you can't sleep more than 15 minutes. They have to wake you up every 15 minutes, 24 hours a day. So you end up getting so exhausted that you basically just sleep, wake up. There's no way to really stay awake. Like, so you don't eat or anything. Yeah, so and you start getting really pissed at the nurses too. Like the nurse, I started fucking with her and giving her bad answers and stuff. And she's like, remember, if you give us bad answers, we have to give you the medicine that really fucks you up bad, but might save your life. Because if you get a blood clot, so here's how it goes, because they tell you about everything before they do the surgery, because this is kind of a dangerous surgery. Yeah. And so they're like, like I had to stay in the critical care unit, like not ICU, critical care unit. Because they have to have me close enough to an operating room that if I do get what do they call it, embolism or whatever it is, no, not embolism, a blood clot, if I get a blood clot in my brain or in my lung, they have to be able to operate on me within minutes. So I for 3 days I had to be on a floor where everybody's screaming in pain and people are dying around me and shit. It was super scary to begin with. And they're like, listen, you have to be here because of what might happen, not because of where you're at, like, but what might happen just for a precaution. Yeah. And so that was really scary. So that got my anxiety really high off the bat. So they had to keep me on Ativan the whole time I was in there. But yeah, they had me taped to bed with a board, literally a board sticking off the side of my bed with duct tape around my arm, like medical duct tape or whatever it is, holding my arm down so I can't move at all. And so for 3 days, I was basically, all I could do was this. Like I had to keep this immobilized. I could move this arm a little bit to do my phone and stuff, and I could move my legs to keep them from clotting up and going to sleep. But yeah, when they took me into surgery and they like numbed shit up, I couldn't feel the catheter going in. I couldn't feel, all I felt was that buzzing in my chest. And they said the scariest thing that can happen is, they said, if you can't answer the questions correctly, and we in our judgment, we believe that you're compromised, that you have a blood clot in your brain because the answers to the question are like stupid bad and don't make any sense. They said they have to push this drug into you that's like super fucking dangerous. It basically dissolves every blood clot in your system. It's like liquid Drano, right? But in the process of giving you that drug, it also causes a bunch of internal bleeding and a bunch of other nasty shit that comes along with it that they have to contend with as secondary side effects. And they said that shit can keep you in the hospital for months. They're like, if they have to push this drug to break up the blood clot throughout your entire body, because normally what they do is they just drip it. It's called like TPM or something like that. They drip it right next to the clot, and then as soon as the blood absorbs it, it becomes inert. So it's only effective where the clot is, right? It doesn't go into your heart, doesn't go into your organs. It's really trippy shit. But they said the stuff that they inject into you, if they think that you have a brain clot, they have to make sure it goes into all your blood throughout your entire body as quickly as possible. So it's a more potent version that doesn't just break down in the blood immediately. And they said because of that, it thins your blood massively. So like even your veins will just start bleeding through like the pores in your veins. So they said it'll cause massive internal bleeding, but they can contend with it. They have another drug they can give you that thickens your blood back up once the clot is neutralized. But they're like, dude, you do not want this. This is basically like the emergency button. That's like, we're signing up for a shitload more work, but you will probably live. And I was like,
probably.
Yeah. So I was not too happy like once this whole process started. And then after going all through all that for 3 days, having the second day with the anesthesia snafu that fucked me up really bad, the clock came back within a week. Like after all that, 1 week later, I go in to get an ultrasound on the clot.
All that,
back. Yep,
that's bullshit.
In 1 week, the clot was back. In 2 weeks, it was the same size as when they operated. So basically, this operation that I went through for 3 days bought me 7 days of a half-size clot, and then 14 days before it was the same clot again. And then you know what they did the second time when the clot came back? I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to go do a surgery again. They're like, well, nope, surgery was ineffective. So what makes you think it's gonna work a second time? They're like, oh, we're just gonna put you on blood thinners for a year. I was like, why the fuck didn't you just put me on blood thinners to begin with?
Why don't do that first?
You literally told me I would die if you didn't give me surgery. Like you're like literally when I went to my doctor and he saw my arm turning purple, he's like, if you do not get to surgery, if you do not get to the hospital in the next 48 hours, you will die. And I was like, okay, I get it. So I go, but then after it turns purple again, like 2 weeks later, my arm looks like it's gonna fall off again. They're like, oh, we'll just put you on fucking Levinox or whatever and thin your blood, and it'll be. And then I took that, and my arm wasn't purple anymore. And then they're like, oh, just don't bump your head into shit for like a year.
Wow.
And so it was really weird. Like I was like, why didn't they just give me that option out of the gate? But apparently it doesn't always work. Like even with the blood thinner, that clot may still be significant enough that you lose a limb. I guess. So they said operating is always the first thing that you do in an emergency like that. But obviously if it doesn't work, they have to do something else. But dude, our medical system's just kind of screwed up. But I will say, I love the
science. I love the science side of medical. Right? Like there are like
miracles, dude. It's like straight up
literally miracle. Like to me, other than like maybe space, like medical science is like the coolest shit.
Oh, sorry, me puppet. He said, wait, just wanted to make sure that you got the do not disturb in the Lego shadow. Oh yeah, no, I don't know. Miss Barnacules is putting all the stuff hiding it in the attic so that my son doesn't find it. So we will know on Christmas morning. But if we don't have it for any reason, I will let you know. We'll go back through the list, and if anything's missing, we'll message people and just let them know so they can get their money back or whatever if it's lost in shipping or whatever. But we do appreciate it. I just don't want him hearing because I think he's up and rattling around down there. So he's been being really snoopy lately too, man. Like every time like a door opens on the closet or something, all of a sudden he's like standing there for no particular reason, looking out of the corner of his eyes. It's like, kid, come on, we're smarter than that. We know what you're doing,
right?
But we already told him he already got his biggest gift. We gave him the Quest 3 early,
dude. That's so
and man, I got to show you guys the video. Like I'm not set up right now, but I recorded a video of it, dude. It was the greatest thing. Let me walk you through this. Like this is great. So I go upstairs to get it because he's been really good. We've all been.
I've heard this. You trick him with like a new. You tricked him with a new number 2, right? Something like that.
And I got it on video.
You kind of fix it and stuff. Yeah. We talked about that last time. Yeah, that's so cool though.
My son's a sweetheart, right?
Yeah.
My son is an absolute sweetheart.
So it's a new number 2.
Yep. So I went in the attic and I found out we had his Quest 2 box, like the box that well, technically it was my Quest 2. Like I bought a Quest 2 for me a long time ago. Actually, that's a lie. Somebody gave me a Quest 2. And so he used the Quest 1. I used the Quest 2 because he preferred the Quest 1 because it has a couple of features that are just good for him and his head size. But as he got older, the Quest 1 died and I had the Quest 2. So I just gave it to him because he plays VR every day. The kid literally lives in VR. He loves Rec Room so much. If you ever go in there, he's in Rec Room like 8 hours a day. So that's like his exercise for PE in school and everything. It's just doing all the Rec Room exercise stuff.
Why not, man? That's some good stuff.
Dude, it's the future, man. So we give him the Quest 2, and so I don't have any Quest anymore. So I haven't been playing Beat Saber forever, and he loves it. Well, I was like, wait a second. If we can get him a Quest 3, then maybe I can get the Quest 2 back, and then we can start playing Rec Room together and stuff again, right? So it's like, this is perfect. And then not only that, I figured out how to fix the controllers that were broken on the Quest 2, because that's the original reason why we wanted to give them the Quest 3s, because the controllers were so bad you couldn't even play. But then I figured out how to get the controllers back using contact cleaner and taking them apart and stuff, and I actually recovered the Quest 2 controllers and the Quest 1 controllers, where this Quest 1's been sitting for 2 years broken because the controllers are ungodly expensive. Like a new headset with new controllers is cheaper than just the controllers.
Jeez.
So I fixed that too. So we had a Quest 1 that was working. Xander had his Quest 2, so now I'm playing the Quest 1. He's playing the Quest 2. Then we get the Quest 3, but I was like, wait a second, I still got the box for the Quest 2. So, and it fit perfectly in it. Like the Quest 3 and the controllers fit perfectly into the Quest 2 box. So I took the Quest 2 box, I put the Quest 3 in there, and I already took it out, and I've been playing with it for a week in secret upstairs without him knowing and stuff, trying to get it set up for him. And, and you know, because I want to make sure it's ready to go on Christmas. He's not sitting there for 5 hours doing updates.
I saw an interesting back and forth about that on Threads, I think it was, where like one guy was like, look, do this, like take it all out of the box, update the thing, and like have it ready to go. And then somebody was arguing, well, like that totally removes like the joy of opening it up and stuff. And I'm like, just put it back. Like you can take it very carefully out of the box, keep all the plastic, anti-scratch plastic and shit all over it, and just plug it in, turn it on, because like it's gonna update before you log in, right? Like you don't have to create a gamer tag or whatever first. Like it's gonna have like OS updates to do first, and at least get that knocked out of it. Like you're gonna drop Call of Duty in there, you're gonna have a fat update no matter what. But like, and you're gonna have to sign in and stuff for
the
that.
Quest 3 will not update until you log in. You have to log in for
it's kind of shitty.
It's Facebook. What do you expect?
But I mean, you're gonna end up having him log in on probably your account anyway.
No. So what I do is I create my account, and then I create a family account for him because he's a minor.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I log in with my account, I do all the updates and everything, and I give myself admin, and then we log out and I give him a user account where he can't buy and install games, but he can play whatever games I give him access to, just because we don't want him like just full free reign in there.
No, of course not. He's like 10.
He's 13, but still he's on the spectrum, and we don't want him being influenced by a bunch of shitheads and stuff. But
I've come up against that in my own fucking.
I have so much respect for him now, though. I've been giving him so much more freedom lately because watching him how he handles things. Like the other night, just as a great example, he's in there and we're in the room, and we hear some kid in there just going N-word, 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 you're an N-word, 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 running around. My son doesn't even like. He says you need to stop saying that terrible thing right now, or you're going to get reported and banned. And that's what my son said. Good. And he's like, you're just an N-word and blah, 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 little N-word, little crybaby N-word or whatever. And he goes, okay, well, I warned you. And he just goes and reports him. And as soon as he reports him, he disappears, because when you report somebody, they disappear out of your view, basically. And so he just disappears. My son didn't even skip a beat. He's okay, guys, let's keep going. Just didn't even phase him even in the slightest. Nice. And so it's awesome going through and like looking at the report history, because it's like my son's probably reported 100 people so far. Oh wow. And of the 100 people he's reported, I think 98 of them have been removed from Rec Room permanently. so like he's got a really good track record. So now, because he has such a good track record, the algorithm, basically, if he reports somebody, they just get removed within like 10 minutes.
Awesome.
Like from the whole platform, because he just has such a good record of getting it right. Nice. And I love that people are like, you're a narc, you're just a narc, trying to pull the whole reverse psychology. You're not cool if you're a narc. But it's like, that's not how my son works. My son's like, that doesn't matter at all. Like, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to, and I get rewarded for this. So, eat shit. He just does. No. So after observing him do that when he doesn't know we're watching, like when we're just observing, that gives me a lot of faith that I can give him more and more room. So we've been letting him play Roblox lately, which Roblox is just an absolute fucking cesspool. So, but there are some fun things to do in there. It's like, it's weird. Rec Room and Roblox almost seem like the exact same game to me for some reason. They're both just frameworks for creating games inside of. The only difference is with like Rec Room, the games seem like they're higher quality and less money grubbing, whereas in Roblox, it seems like it's 99.9% money grubbing.
Huh.
Like Roblox, you just pick a random room. Like I played Roblox for about an hour on PlayStation 5, my first real experience. Like I've watched other people play it, but I wanted to play it myself. And I swear, out of the first 20 rooms that I selected, only 2 of them were like legitimately fun games where I didn't have like a thing in my face saying, oh, spend this many Robux and kill everybody off the server.
Oh, weird.
Like that seems to be is it just me? Am I just that unlucky? Or have you guys experienced the same?
I haven't tried Roblox in years.
So I tried getting on a server, and it's like this game where you have to like run down a hallway, and it's like what do they call that, freeze tag or whatever, where it's like, okay, go, and then stop, then go and stop. Oh, and it's like, you see all these people with like jetpacks and like unlimited armor and stuff like flying down and they beat it. They're like no effort at all. They can even just let the wall hit them and it doesn't do anything to them because they bought like the ultra super armor for 20 Robux or whatever. And so it's like, how is that even fun anymore? Like you get on the server and then what happens every time you die, it's like, oh, if you just spent 20 Robux, you'd still be alive right now and you could get a higher score. And it's like, how the hell is this like okay? Like this is basic, and most of them are gambling too. You get on a server and it's like, oh, for 20 Robux, you could have a chance to win a $900,000 skin that you could sell on the Robux store for real money. It's like, how is this legal? How is it legal to market to 13-year-olds in games that they can like invest in the fucking Roblox stock market?
Well, and like there's a weird sort of back and forth there too, right? Like I've seen where it's like a good platform for like learning to code and stuff. Like a lot of kids are making like their own little mini games and stuff inside of Roblox and like learning good skill and things like that and making money, which is cool and kind of mind blowing.
It started out
it's
that
also
way,
like it's also horrendously toxic. Like it's super back from what I remember back in years and years ago. It's just weird. It's so weird. My perspective has like changed over time because
as you get older,
kind of like it feels weird to me, but then I start thinking about like some of the chat rooms and stuff that I remember I'm participated in or seen, around. It's not really much different. I mean, it's just now there's a graphical interface.
Honestly, I'd say it's better. I'd say overall it's a lot better than it used to be, just not the volume. Like there's a lot more volume.
Yeah, and that's part of it too. Oh yeah, these are the South African rand.
Oh my god, the czars.
Yeah, man. Holy cow.
Aubrey, you're awesome. 3 tech talks in a row. I hope a streak keeps going. Yeah, guys, first of all, I would like to just take just a quick second to apologize for not streaming on Twitch lately. It's a lot easier for me to do tech talk because I have a co-host
coming out your belly button.
I do. I literally have a grapefruit trying to escape my body. so the thing about tech talk is it's a lot easier because one, it's only 3 hours, right? Whereas when I stream on Twitch, it usually goes for like 5 or 6 hours minimum.
Can't stop.
And the other thing too is I have a co-host. So like if I have to take a break or I have to go take medicine, or even if I have to step away entirely, I have somebody here who got my back. So it gives me a little bit more comfort. With Twitch, it's like I'm going the whole time, start to finish, with like no dead air.
Which is hard.
So it's really difficult to do that when you're compromised or you're sick. Like Tech Talk, it gives me a lot more leeway, thankfully.
I know we've talked about this often enough, but people who don't do it don't realize the mental drain of live streaming. Whether you're playing games or building PCs or whatever the fuck it is, the constant on, like you're on all the time. You have to, because it's like broadcast news. Dead air is killer. Like not saying anything,
feels
not
wrong.
with nothing going on. Like, just dead silent. Like if you're just sitting there spacing out, playing a game or doing your thing. It's bad. That is super bad. And
having a co-host is nice because like if you got to go take a shit or you got to close the door or run to the door or something, you can do that. But it's like when you're solo and you do that, it's just dead air. Yeah. And but the thing is the other thing I'd like to say is it is immensely rewarding. Like I prefer live streaming more than making videos, more than everything. And the thing that I love about it is it's like it's communicating. It's not one-sided. Like I get to talk to you guys this whole time. Like when I do this stream, I get to talk to co-host and I get to talk to you. When I do my stream, I get to talk to you. It's always interactive. When you're shooting a video by yourself and editing and stuff, it's like it's just you, right? It's fun to tell a story and the end product is awesome, but it's like you don't have that interaction, that live real interaction. And it's weird because there's no safety net, but that even just for some reason that still makes it easier, even without the safety net. I just like live streaming. But it does take a crazy amount of energy. And this is the weird thing. Like when I stream, if you guys ever like watch me over on Twitch, I will be on for like 4 or 5 hours, just going. And then at the end, I am like lethargic and can't even remember where I'm at. Like I literally just put 100% and then I hit 0 in the tank. I close out the stream and then I get up out of my chair and I can barely keep my eyes open. Like the exhaustion is so real. It's crazy. And it hits you all at once. It's like a tidal wave that just smashes you. And nothing else makes me feel that way. Nothing else I do. Doesn't matter shooting videos, like doing, if I have to do chores around the house or anything, there's nothing else that has that effect where it's like you're so mentally involved in pushing so hard that you're distracted from the pain, you're distracted from the exhaustion, that once it comes to an end, once your tank is empty, it's just you fall off a cliff.
Yeah.
And that happens every time to me. Like I tell people that all the time. Like you don't see me when I turn off the stream. Like Tech Talk, not so much. Tech Talk, I can walk away from. I'm fine. When I do my Twitch streams, I get up and I go down the stairs, and it's like I don't even know where I'm at half the time. I'm fighting to keep my eyes open. I usually just go straight into the bedroom, lay down, and take like a 45-minute or hour nap, like involuntarily. So it takes a lot of energy out of you. But God, I love it. I love live streaming. I hope I can live stream forever.
Just any live content.
I'm just glad that people still enjoy what I do, because like I've had a couple people in chat already say, "Oh my God, you just quit live streaming on Twitch. You're not live streaming anymore." And it's like, but the reason they know that is because they watch me live stream and they want me to live stream. And it's like, that's great, because that means that that's a good thing, right? When people are mad that you're not streaming, that is actually a good thing, because it's like that means that they have made you a part of their life. They've invited you into their homes for viewing. And when you're gone, that like fucks their routine up, you know, and they want that back. And I think that that's a great compliment. You know, I've had people before say, "Oh, you fucking quit streaming just because I missed like 2 shows," or "You quit streaming, never streaming again, you piece of shit," or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but you noticed that after only 2 streams. So that tells me that you watch everything I do, and that's amazing. And I thank you for it. Next time, just let's have a better communication so we don't have to go down this weird road. But I'm definitely getting back to Twitch streaming here really soon. It's just the holidays. December is always a bad month for me. It always has been, always will be. But in January, man, do I got some cool shit lined up. Oh man, things are going to start changing pretty quick around the old Nerdgasm room. Because one, I don't know if you guys are joining, didn't hear earlier, I have obtained the RTX 4090. It is in the computer right now. You guys are watching. We're streaming right now. That right there is was in the box, an RTX 4090 Founders Edition. Okay. So I had no idea, by the way, that these cards are $2,000.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I thought they were like $1,300, but $1,200 or $1,300.
You gotta remember any of the, man, this bugs me a lot.
I'm so
after the 20 series. After the 20 series, they stopped calling them Titans and they put a 90 on the end of it.
Yeah.
So if you just think of it as a 40 series Titan card, totally makes sense that it's $2,000, because the 3080 or in this case 4080, I don't think there's a 4080 Ti yet. That's the fucking top end consumer card. The 4090 is the bridge between the G-forces and the what used to be called Quadros. But because it's got the same similar model name as like the consumer cards, people are like, "Oh my God, it's so fucking expensive." Compare the price of a 4090 to the price of a 40 or a Titan XP, Lil P.
Yep.
And it's the exact same. There's maybe like a couple percent price up increase since then, but for its position in the hierarchy of video cards, it is exactly priced the way that it should be.
Oh, for the performance, absolutely. Like holy shit! Like
we can totally argue about a 4080 shouldn't cost $1,500.
No, it shouldn't. It absolutely shouldn't,
because that is historically out of whack with like what a 3080 or a 40 or a 2080 Ti or that kind of a thing.
By the way, a 4090 is twice the size. A 4090 is literally twice the size of this freaking card. Yes. Nobody notices it on camera. Like,
dude, if you sit them next to each other, it's such a humongous difference.
When I pick, because this is not a small card. This is a 3080, picking the thing up. This thing weighs, like, if I had to guess, if I put it on a scale, I'm going to say this weighs 8 to 10 pounds. Yeah, somewhere in there, right? 8 to 10 pounds. This is an original Titan XP, right?
Yeah, that's a little P. Yep.
Yeah, so this is the Lil Pascal. So remember the king chair we made out of the boxes?
That was a 2080 Ti.
Yeah, it's basically,
with a little more VRAM, I think.
Yeah, we'll put it this way. I replaced this with a 2080 Ti. Originally, I had 2 of these, and then I had 2 2080 Ti's, and the performance difference was only about 12%.
Yeah.
So technically, the 2080s were a little bit faster for most things.
I could see.
But I think this
because
had more
you had
RAM.
2 of them, though, right?
Yeah, and this had more RAM. I think this was 12, or the 2080s had 8 meg, I think. Was it 8
Something
gigabyte?
Like that. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so the 2080s were a little faster, a little less VRAM, right? But this card right here, metal back plate, still really hefty, right? These were the professional, the professional cards. But then you like you said, you come into the 40 series, and it's like the 4090 looks identical to this card.
Yeah.
Except same thing with the fan configuration, heatsink, everything. The only difference is it's like an inch bigger this way, an inch bigger this way, and like an inch thicker this way. It's literally, if you look at both cards separate on camera, they look like they're the same dimensions. But then you look at them side by side, and it's like a fucking tanker ship. It's
something crazy too. Hang on, hold that back up to the camera. The card itself, so you almost can kind of see it when he's holding it up that close. Go back to the side of it again. So this would be your right hand, but to us on the left side of the view, the part no, not where the plugs are, the other hand.
Yep.
The V shape on the heat sink.
Yep.
The V shape on the heat sink there. That's about where the card ends. The actual PCB is about.
You're right. I can see right through it.
Yeah, the actual PCB is maybe a little more than half of the entire length of the card, because most of the weight
you can see
and the length. Yeah. Yeah.
Right
You can almost see right through it. About half of that is the actual PCB. Same with the 4090. It's only about half to maybe a third or 2/3. Maybe
it's all heatsink. All
heatsink fans. The actual card itself is half length. They're tiny. It's actually really small. But man, whereas that Titan XP that you were just holding on to, that PCB goes the whole length.
It does,
the entire length.
Yep, you can even see under the back plate. Like if you look, see the green? That's all PCB, all the way around the edge of that back plate.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy, but it's also wider, or like I mean, depending on your dimensioning. Like the PCB itself is wider, but it's also shorter.
And by the way, when this came out, this was considered an incredibly heavy graphics card.
Dude,
like it's a metal back plate and everything. Compared to this,
10 or 12 pounds.
This weighs easily 2 pounds, at least 2 pounds less than a 3080, and this weighs less than half of the freaking 4090. I want to
say the 4090 is 14 pounds.
Dude, it's so heavy. I didn't look it up, but it's when I pulled it out of the box, I was like, holy shit. Because check this out. So this, first of all, Nvidia's box game is amazing. Can we just say that?
Oh, dude.
Like, as much as people hate Nvidia for their pricing and stuff like that, and I totally understand it, their box game is top notch. Every graphics card I've got, they've done some gimmick with the box to make it super cool, right?
Love it.
Check out this box. It opens like this.
Yep.
Like it's a hinged, heavy corrugated cardboard box. You lift it up, and then it turns into like this pyramid that sits on your desk, right?
It's so nice.
But
it's got
the card is so thick that when it's sticking out, like when it's in the box and it's sticking out when you fold it open, it looks like it's the width of a regular like 3080.
Oh,
right?
Weird. No
then
way.
You grab it and you pull it out, and it's super thick. What does it say?
I'm saying weighing in at 4.8 pounds.
No fucking way.
And approaching, it's like that's what Engadget is saying.
Am I that weak? Like, how much does the 3080 weigh?
Let's see.
And you're looking at Founders Editions, right?
3090 weighs just under 5 pounds.
Okay, how much?
It feels, and maybe that's, I mean, go grab a gallon of milk, right? That's about 8 pounds.
That's 8. So, actually, nah, you're right. That
makes more sense. Like, if I think about it that way, but still, that's heavy. 5 fucking pounds.
5 pounds is a lot. Yeah.
So
dude, the
2,186 grams.
Dude, check this out. The 3080 for the Win 3 third-party card is 7 pounds.
Yeah, but that's huge. It's got
almost
like 5 fans
milk,
on it, dude. And it's 85 inches thick. And like, come on.
I can give you guys a demo. So look at this. I didn't even realize this. I have the box.
Here's a good. Yeah, this will give you a good idea of how big.
Look how thick that is. That's already
not just thick, but overall silhouette.
Like, that's a 2-slot thick card, right? So watch. I'm gonna take it and actually here,
just right there on the face of it. Yeah, just the face. Look at how big this cutout is.
So look, so that right there, so you guys can see. Look around the edge of the card.
Yeah.
And keep in mind the 4090 fills this 100%. There's no space anywhere in here, right? It'd be pushed up in the corner like this. So all that space at the bottom, all that space side, that's just the footprint. But the thickness is where it gets you. See how it's flush? You see how it's almost flush with the box?
Mm-hmm.
When you get the 4090, look how thick it is on the back.
Careful, man! Don't drop that 3080.
No, I got it right here.
God, freaking me out.
Simmer down. So look how deep the holes are on that.
Yeah.
The 4090 fills it all the way. So imagine.
Hey.
So
10 pounds. Thank you. Woo.
So that's flush. That's sitting flush with the box, pretty much, right? When you get the 4090, it's sticking out this far from the box, like it's more than 3 slots. It takes up all 3 slots to the maximum amount it can. And to put the screw in it to retain it to the slot, it's so far down in there because the card is so much wider that you have to use a screwdriver to basically get the screw lined up and get it. You can't even put the finger nut in there. And so it just, I don't know, man. I was not expecting it to be that big. But what actually surprised ladies, what surprised me even more though is the power. Holy shit. So look at this. Right here is this is the adapter that comes with the 3080, okay? So this is what you got, 2 8-pin VGAs, which is a lot of power, right? I mean, that right there already is a lot of power. I don't know what each VGA is rated for wattage wise, but you need 2 of these with a special adapter for a 3080.
150?
That sounds about right. That sounds about right, actually, because I think with 4 of them, you can do 600.
At max, the 4090 will pull 450.
The Founders Edition, yes, but I know there's some aftermarket ones that hit 600 plus.
I believe it.
So check this out, though. So this is the adapter, right, that comes from Nvidia or whatever for a 3080. The 4090 has a plug like this that's twice as wide, and it has 4 of these. And I asked Nvidia, I was like, I don't have to use all 4, right? And they're like, oh no, it'll boot on 2, but you won't. But to max the performance of the card, you have to have all 4.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be on separate rails. Like, you don't want to use adapters.
Yeah, no, yeah, you want to use the 2. You'll have 2 VGA
per rail.
Rails on your power supply. Yeah, you want to use them both. And I would even go so far as to say, don't use the pigtails. Like, if you can, use all 4, because sometimes the VGA rails will be shared with the SATA ones. And that is best practice.
Yeah, the power draw on this is ridiculous for this card.
Use one rail per plug. Ideally, it's not like your shit's going to explode or catch on fire or anything, but that's just best practice.
Yeah, the good news is, though, I have an 850 watt platinum power supply, and I didn't think it would be sufficient. It was fine. It runs. But I was thinking about it too. I was like, why was I ever worried? At one point, I was running 2 Titan XPs in there. 2 Titan XPs is because I think the Titan XP
total those would probably be about 500 watts total.
So the Titan XP required an 8-pin and a 6-pin.
6, yeah.
So in the 3080 required 2 8-pins, and then going up to the 4090, I needed 4 8-pins.
Right.
But if you think about it, it's just like, wow, the size of it in the case when you install it, you put the side panel, it's like, dude, it's like half the computer's total size is just GPU.
And is this your X299 system?
This is still the same one.
Yeah, okay.
This is the system
I was just making sure which one I'm thinking of. And so yeah, your CPU and that's gonna top out at like what, 175 at most. If you've got like the 5950X or whatever it was.
It's one of the X processors. Let me see. Win config. Let me open that up. Or no, what is it? MS config? MS config, is that right? MS config. It's one of those.
Or this computer.
No,
I'm trying to my PC.
No, there's
you just go my PC and it'll, or no, not that one.
Well, I know you can right click on PC and you do settings, but my brain is drawing a blank. I open it every single day. There's a thing that has a page of every spec on your PC, including your motherboard, RAM, controllers, BIOS, everything.
Oh yeah.
Is it Win config? No, Win info, MS info. Is that it? There we go. MS info. God damn, this brain's getting old, folks.
Oh, system information. Yeah,
so this is my system that's driving a 4090 right now, which actually I thought it was going to bottleneck the shit out of it. It's not at all. No. I'm able to. I can 100% it. I can 100%.
Yeah, no doubt.
So now, granted, depending on the application, like obviously, if I have an application that the CPU can't feed the graphics card fast enough, there will be a bottleneck. 100%. So the processor that I have right now is an Intel Core i9 7940X.
Oh, nice.
With 3.1 gigahertz standard clock, 3.4 boost clock, 14 cores, 28 logical cores.
Yeah, nice.
So
that's a good place to be.
Yeah, this was like, I want to say it was like a $3,000 CPU in 2017 or 2018.
You'll be surprised. The whole X299 stuff is still catching a premium.
Is it really? I wonder. Here, let me look on eBay. I want to see what this processor goes for, because I was looking at processors the other day, seeing if there was a better one than this, like put on this motherboard, and I couldn't find one. 7940X. Okay, how much do these things go for? Geez, they're still $200 CPU.
Yeah,
which doesn't sound like much, but when you're talking about a CPU that was in 2018, right? Five years old, more,
more,
and it's still pulling. One just sold for $264 the other day. Wow. Okay. So
because it's a combination of things. One, like Intel dropped out of the HEDT stuff. There's a lot of, what is it like? There's like some good PLX. There's some good PLX, I think, support for like multi GPU. I think it's one of the last set of chipsets that you could actually get full bandwidths. Like every slot would be X16.
Yeah, yep. And it's all like, most PCIe lanes for Intel up to that generation.
Although I mean, you could I mean, if you weren't like hardcore into Intel, you could go to like a second or third gen Threadripper.
AMD is just bending Intel over and giving them a spanking.
Dude, what's really killing me on Intel's side is the power draw. Like that seems to be the only way they're able to be keeping up right now.
How did AMD do that though? Like AMD used to be known for being on fire, and now they're the efficient CPU.
The chiplet thing, man, that architecture change with how they are handling these super high core count stuff is even, and Intel's actually even investigating. I've seen some articles about like they're looking into their own sort of way of doing that. That and it's the chiplet thing and the Infinity Fabric or whatever they call it for memory management or memory pass-throughs. I don't know. You start getting down into the micro electronics of CPU architecture, and it gets fuzzy for me. AMD is for poor people. Not anymore, man. Maybe on the graphics card side, but
I had to discontinue that shirt from my merch store because AMD is definitely not for poor people anymore.
Or go look at what a fucking Threadripper is going to cost you. Like, tell me it's for poor people.
No, not only that. Did you see?
But you can't compare that to a Xeon. That's not fair. You got to compare it back to the X series of CPUs. Because
if you think AMD is for poor people, you need to go look at their latest CPU, the one that has 64 physical cores, not logical, 64 physical cores, 128 logical cores.
Mm-hmm.
You literally open up like their
the Threadripper Pros are like into the 5 figures. It's ridiculous.
Go watch Dave's Garage on YouTube. He does a video of his because he bought a Dell workstation that has this crazy ass 128 cores.
Yep.
And he wrote a program because he wrote Task. He's the developer of Task Manager at Microsoft. Like he's long retired, but he wrote a program that literally just spins up the cores on the CPU to change them from dark to green in Task Manager, and he opens it up and he treats them like pixels, and you can actually like play Doom and shit like with all the little CPU monitors for cores because it's 128 pixels. And I was like, it's just crazy to even see that many logical cores on the screen. Because like my system, I have 28 logical cores, right?
Yeah,
that already makes Task Manager look crazy when you break out all the cores separately. Imagine 128.
The Windows starts getting weird when you go over 32, I think, because it starts
Windows
breaking
11
them into
did a better job with that.
A little bit, but what'll happen is it starts breaking them. It'll break it out as if it's a whole different processor group after 32 cores, I think 32 and more, and you'll get funny not memory issues, but sometimes it'll start thinking of it as like you'll have like a dual processor thing kind of going on.
Yep.
And it'll memory manage in a similar way. And so like if you've got memory over here on this number 2 logical CPU and CPU 1 needs it slows things down a little bit. It's nothing that like is horrible or anything, but if when minutes matter, like
I want to say the boost, don't quote me on this, but I want to say the boost clock was up there too. Like if you're just using like a dozen cores or whatever.
That's part of it too. Intel, the only way they can, for whatever reason, at least right now, who knows what's coming.
Yeah, I don't know how Intel fell so far behind. It's disgusting.
Like the Xeons are so low speed at base, and then will boost, but you can't hold boost forever, and even the boost isn't that great. And it's. I think they're going to be better in the next year or two, but because they are, I hope they bring something back in the HEDT side of things, bring back the Core X stuff, some sort of gimpy Xeons or something. But
I just realized I never tweeted out the stream. I never Facebooked it or Discorded it. I just went and published it everywhere. I totally forgot, guys. So a bunch of people probably didn't even know we were live right now. Probably thought I know I'm dropping the ball hard.
Hey, we still had 200 people here. That's pretty good. Likes. Hold on, actually, let me refresh because sometimes
can we have some likes? Yeah, I'm only showing 1 like here. Now now. Come on, can we get that to at least the number of people that are currently in here?
Intel CPUs dropping hyperthreading.
Why?
I don't know about that.
That doesn't make any sense to me at all. Unless they're going for some kind of cost-effective
replacement
CPU or something. That doesn't make sense.
Like, what are you going to do? Just start pumping out 6 core processors with the
hyper-threading? The hyper-threading thing. It's literally free performance.
Rentable cores? What? That doesn't.
No. He's just making fun of because all the companies are going to services.
Okay, I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Did you hear what Microsoft's doing? Microsoft is going to charge you a license fee to keep using Windows 10. Like if you refuse to go to Windows 11
for
at the end of
security
Christmas,
updates and stuff.
if you want any security updates, because historically Microsoft has discontinued feature updates, but have still given you security updates even after life for many years.
I think security updates stop in 2025.
Yeah, like
if you want to go
Windows
beyond
XP,
that, you have to pay.
Yeah, for Windows XP or something, it was some ungodly amount. It was like 12 or 15 years they kept recontinuing security updates because it was so bad. But they're saying that no, they're going to cut off security updates like right at the original cutoff date with no extension. And if you do not upgrade to Windows 11 and you want security updates, which is really important because exploits are still found all the time in Windows 10, 11, 7, 8. If you don't pay for those security updates, you're basically Microsoft's throwing you to the wolves. So you will have to either upgrade to Windows 11 or pay a yearly upkeep for the security updates, which is just crazy. But then the worst thing is everybody keeps talking about this Windows 12, like the secrecy between like, well, is Windows 12, is Microsoft going to make yet another Windows? The answer is yes. I've actually talked to some people internally, and yes, Microsoft is in fact seeking a completely monthly subscription based operating system. So your next version of Windows after Windows 11, because I can't imagine they're going to do it with Windows 11, because if they drop a feature that suddenly requires everybody who bought a license to pay monthly, they'll get sued. But the next version of Windows, the next major version of Windows that drops is basically going to be like Office 365 OS. Like they are going to try.
I don't think that's going to go well.
I don't think
people aren't going to want to pay a monthly fee for the operating system.
Yeah, I don't think they will.
That would be, and I mean, it'd be a huge exodus to Apple for that.
Yeah, and what I don't understand is they've been embracing Linux huge with WSL2 and everything and side-by-side kernel and all this stuff. Why the hell would they go to a subscription-based operating system when they've so heavily embraced open source? It just seems so counterproductive to me. It's like, hey guys, we're really embracing open source. We want all the community to get involved and develop and have a good time. Oh, but for the operating system that doesn't, you have to pay us money. Like ongoing. That just does not make sense to me. So I'm really hoping that this is one of those things where like in the final hour they decide no, the OS we're just going to give away for free, and then we'll keep Office 365 and Xbox and all that be a premium. Because I mean that's what they're doing right now. Like if you think about it, it's like, okay, you got Microsoft Game Pass, right? That's a monthly subscription. You got Office 365, that's a monthly subscription. You got OneDrive, that's a monthly subscription. You've got Live Mail or whatever, where you can get the free account with like 2 gigs or whatever, but then you can get way more if you pay a monthly subscription. So they already have a shitload of monthly subscriptions, right? So why do they need to have an OS also be a monthly subscription? Because the whole point is, if you're running Microsoft OS, that's the gateway to all these other services, right? To be integrated into the operating system. So if you start charging people to use the operating system on a monthly basis, just so that they have to pay more for other services to use on it, that just seems like that's going to just exhaust people, and they're going to have enough of it and just stop using it. And to be fair, I don't think Microsoft has the death grip that they used to. I mean, most of the Steam library now runs under Linux.
Yeah, that's just fine.
Yeah, everybody's moving to Vulkan like over DirectX, because apparently the Vulkan API is like really easy to develop for. If you're like old school OpenGL developers, like going to Vulkan is just as easy, if not easier, than DirectX, I've heard. Especially if you're doing ray tracing. Like if you're doing like ray tracing for AMD and or if you want ray tracing on AMD, Intel, and Nvidia GPUs, apparently Vulkan makes that development path like really, really simple. I mean, so does DirectX, obviously, but DirectX is only Windows. Whereas Vulkan is everywhere, right? Vulkan's Linux, Mac OS, which is BSD derivative or free BSD derivative, Windows. So it's like it's pretty much everywhere. But I will say DirectX. Actually, does anybody know, did DirectX actually get ported to Linux? Because I know a lot of .NET stuff got ported. Like when Microsoft like hooked up with Mono or whatever and started making it officially supported for .NET across all the platforms. Did they also support DirectX on Linux? Because I haven't looked into that at all. If DirectX actually works on Linux and you can actually run DirectX games on Linux without like some kind of translation layer or something like that, that would be huge. Like that honestly is the only thing I can think of keeping people on Windows, really. Like if DirectX was supported, because if DirectX was supported on Linux, even Adobe would have no problem porting their shit. So I honestly, if somebody can figure that out without having to use something like Wine or whatever as an intermediate layer and with all the bugs and compatibility issues, honestly, there's no reason to be on Windows. Like hell, you run Linux and then run Windows in a VM at that point, right? Like it can just be for your legacy apps and things like that. But like me, I like Windows. I've been a Windows person nearly my whole life, although there was a rebellious period when I was younger where I hated Microsoft and everything they stood for, and I refused to run Windows on anything. And I was that kid that would like make everything 100 times harder in Linux, and just because I didn't want to install Windows. Or I was the one kid that ran OS2 Warp when everybody else was running like Windows 3.1 and Windows XP. But that all changed, you know. And then I went and worked for the damn company for 15 years and invested so much time into learning their ecosystem. It's hard to leave now. And so it pisses me off when I hear that Microsoft's always like, oh, we're going to start charging more subscriptions. We're going to start collecting more data. We're going to start being more cloud-based and more cloud-centric. And it's like each time they do this, I'm like, all that time I dedicated to learning their infrastructure is basically going down the toilet like one step at a time. And I'm like, oh, I'm so frustrated by that. And plus they abandon everything. Sorry, I'm a little ranty today, but but it's true. Microsoft abandons everything. The fucking Microsoft Kin, the Windows Phone, oh God, I had a list with like 12 things on it the other day. Then they got Skype and abandoned Microsoft Instant Messenger, Microsoft Bob. Everybody remembers Microsoft Bob. There's all these different technologies that could, like the AR. Did you hear they just discontinued AR? Their entire line of Microsoft headsets, VR headsets, completely deprecated now. They're killing the project entirely.
Like HoloLens, you mean?
HoloLens is the only thing that's going to exist after this, and they're not even creating another one.
Weird.
Like they're not going to keep it going. And Zune. How did I not say Zune? Zune is the biggest one in the entire list. So every time Microsoft creates a technology to like go toe to toe with the industry, they create a product. It sucks at first. It gets way better, and then right when it gets better, they abandon it and run away.
Like fucking Mixer, man.
Yeah,
they should. Man, that's such a they had a good thing going there, and I think they could have, if they had given another 3 to 5 years, they could have had a decent like. And like,
I think you're being generous. I think honestly a year.
It blows me away that they didn't wrap it up under Xbox. Quite frankly, whoever runs Xbox, the boss of Xbox, which I know is like some kind of treated like as a separate company, really. Like I know
not anymore. They're under the Windows brand now.
Well, sort of, but they seem to be fairly independent. It as far as like
to an extent, yeah.
You know, as far as when Microsoft will allow that sort of thing, as it's like the game dev and entertainment arm of Microsoft. Yeah. And I'm shocked that they like, I don't know, they like treated it like Windows or like a software thing and not a platform like Game Pass, you know, that kind of thing. It's just fucking, it blows my mind. And then they gave it to Facebook of all people.
Dude, think about all the things that they had, that if they had just taken them to completion, how that ecosystem would look today. They had their own mobile platform, they had their own live streaming platform, they had their own video platform, they had their own music platform with like Zune, right?
Yeah.
So if they had taken those all to completion instead of like killing them off and running away, they had Nokia, for crying out loud, which at the time was the largest cell phone manufacturer in the entire world. So all of those things, if they had just seen it through to completion, and keep in mind, Microsoft was so profitable, even with these projects eating money, that they never had a year that they took a loss. Every year was profitable. They were always profitable. And if they had just kept those technologies, they would basically be Apple today. Like they would literally be where Apple's at today. The App Store. Did you see how many times they rebooted the App Store? So when the phone came out, the phone had its own App Store, and then Windows had its own App Store, and they were completely separate.
Yeah.
Then they merged the kernels together, and they created one App Store. That became a complete cesspool of garbage. And then Zune had its own marketplace and its own App Store. And then they took those two and tried to merge them together. But then Silverlight, the technology that it was all based on, got deprecated and killed. And then in the very end, what are you left with? The Windows Marketplace. And the Windows Marketplace is just a cesspool with like no app reviews. The garbage shit you've ever seen in your entire life. Any app that you download, you're just better off going to the website and downloading and installing the Win32 version of it. And the UI that they use, they've even started deprecating that too. Like when you download these Windows Store applications that have, you ever notice how Windows Store applications have a UI that looks different than the rest of the Windows apps? Like the UI always just seems like it doesn't really belong 100%. Like it's full screen, a lot of solid colors. The controls don't quite look the same. It's because they're all using the .NET Framework XAML controls, which are their cross-platform control architecture that they use for their what do they call them? Metro apps. I mean, they have a different name today, but that was the code name when I worked there. The Metro application architecture. That has basically been like abandoned. Like it still works and it's still there, but like no work is going into improving it. It's still slow. It's still sluggish. It doesn't look and act like the other components inside of Windows. So now you have this like weird mixed world of when you open a Windows Store application that's not Win32, it's actually using the Metro API or whatever. It just doesn't look and feel and act the same as all the other applications on the computer. So then most people get confused by that. And they're like, oh, why can't I do the same things with this window that I do with the other window? Why doesn't it respond to like minimize and maximize and move and click and snap and stuff like the other windows do? Like, why is it such a different experience within the same ecosystem? It's very weird. There it is. UWA. Yeah, the Universal Windows app. So, and it's basically they wanted to create an API because again, they copied Apple, right? Microsoft likes to copy Apple. So they're like, oh, well, Apple's iOS has these layers where the app requests certain level of access and only that level of access is granted. And it, gives more security and less cross-platform bullshit. But what they forgot to mention was that by you having to use that API and be limited by that API, it makes the job a lot harder for developers. Like developers, because if they need to get additional access, now they have to ask the user downloads the app. Now it's like, why do you need access to my email account or whatever? And that's great, right? Like you think of that as the user, you're like, oh, I'm glad I get that information. But for the developer, it's a total pain in the ass. When you release a Windows app, you don't have to do any of that shit. The Windows app, it's like you either need administrator or user. That is it. You don't have to niggle over, oh, I need access to the network card, or I need access to Wi-Fi, or I need access to the graphics, or I need access to this. It's just no. Do I need to be an administrator or do I need to be a regular user? And it just makes it that simple. And that's how it should have stayed. They shouldn't have gone after this compartmentalization that iOS had. And then they abandon RT too. That's another thing. So they create Windows RT, which is a Windows version that's supposed to run exclusively on ARM and is designed to only run ARM and only run the Windows Store apps and not run any Win32 apps, yada, yada. I mean, a lot of that's untrue. There's like software locks. There's no reason why it can't. But then they discontinue it. So Windows RT now is dead. Now they've just rolled it into building an ARM version of Windows 11, which runs on the Surface Pro X, which as far as I know is the only ARM-based system other than like a Raspberry Pi or something like that people are installing Windows on that it's officially supported. And it's weird because it's like, why is Microsoft producing a single, as far as I know, a single device? I think it's only the Surface Pro X. I don't know how many other devices use it, but they use a bespoke ARM version of Windows that has almost no app support. Like, why would you buy that? Is there anybody in here that owns one of those Surface Pro X's that could like justify to me why they think it's better than buying a cheaper non-$2,000 more conventional x86 or x64 based laptop? Other than battery life. But even battery life doesn't matter anymore, dude. I got my wife an LG Gram laptop that has like 10 or 12 hours of battery life. That is the lightest laptop I've ever picked up in my life, and it's got a 17-inch screen. So if you can put 10 hours of battery life in a Windows 11 laptop with conventional architecture, why the hell do you need ARM at all for that? Yeah. And keep in mind, I'm an ARM advocate. Like, I 100% think that ARM is the future. I think x86's days were numbered like 6 years ago. I understand why we still use it today. However, it shouldn't exist. Like, with GPUs taking up so much of the labor now on your computer, there's really no reason to have a super instruction rich processor like x64. Like, you don't need the SSE multimedia extensions on the CPU anymore. It's like, who the hell uses them? You're going to use the GPU. As far as having threads, it used to be the CPU was the thread king, right? Your GPU was basically one thread and your CPU had, 2 or 4 or 8 threads if you were lucky. Now it's the other way around. It's like your CPU has like 14 threads, but your GPU has what, like 1400 or something like that. Right. So it seems like everything got turned on its end, and the GPU is basically the biggest compute unit per pound in the system. So why not ditch x64 architecture entirely and just go fully to ARM? Because then you could build cheap chips that have literally hundreds of cores running at like 1.2 or 2 gigahertz, and then just let the GPU take, or maybe have one performance core. Like have one performance core that's like 3 or 4 gigahertz, right? Just like the M1 or M2 or M3 that Apple did, right? Have one performance core that's just there to basically back you up on the legacy shit that can't be rebuilt and recompiled and all that stuff. And then just dedicate the rest of the CPU to just shitloads of ARM core with direct memory access on chip. Because M2 is like the M1 and M2 are killing it. Like in the AI space, holy shit, I didn't realize this, but somebody the other day was talking to me on, I think it was Discord, and they showed me their tokens per second in LM Studio, which is basically loading a GPT locally, like an large language model. Okay. They were getting 28 tokens a second in one of the things where my 3080 GPU is only getting 14. They were getting double that on an M1, not even an M2,
right.
an M1 original, like,
I mean, it kind of makes sense.
ARM-based book.
Because it's super parallelized.
Yep. I know, I have a hard time with that
word. That's why GPUs are good at what they're doing, because they're built for a whole lot of simultaneous tasks. And so that I mean, it's kind I don't understand chip architecture enough to say that GPUs are ARM type processors, but in a sense, like I know ARM is more of like an instruction set, I guess.
That's all it is, right? Reduced instruction set. It's a RISC processor. That's it.
And so, but I mean, GPUs it's millions of, well, not millions, but you know what I mean? It's bunches and bunches of relatively slower in terms of like frequency, but like there's an army of them. So like it can get it all. It's like having 100 guys build a bridge versus 20. It's like, it doesn't matter how fast those 20 guys can go if you can have a whole bunch of other people. The distributed load and all that.
And the architecture is perfectly built for them to work together too. Whereas with CPU, it's like threading depends on how good of a developer you are. On a GPU, not necessarily. On a GPU, you call the APIs, and the APIs and optimization from Nvidia and AMD and stuff, and their architecture kicks in to really give you that performance. So there's, it just seems like the CPU, at least like x64 architecture stuff is kind of dated, especially stuff like Itanium. When you talk about like these old processors where they just kept adding more and more instructions, because the more instructions the CPU has, the longer each cycle takes, which effectively lowers how much work it can do per cycle unless you're utilizing those extra instructions. So if you're utilizing all the instructions on the CPU, then technically you're getting more value per cycle than a reduced instruction set processor. But if you're not using them all, you're just wasting it.
You don't want idle cycles.
You're just burning electrons for nothing. You got a heater. So but like the ARM stuff, now the direction we're going is like your GPU is really good at floating point. And ARM is fantastic with the conventional mathematics of like an x86 or x64, just without the multimedia extension stuff. And so it seems like if you brought that together, that's like a match made in heaven. Like that would give you the best of both worlds. You just have to go out and basically say all the developers of old who developed and compiled stuff for x86 architecture, you guys need to recompile for a newer generation, or you have to be handled through emulation and you're just going to be slow. But that's okay, because those are old applications at this point. So emulating them, even if you take an 80% loss in performance, for most of those old games and shit, that's still, you're not going to notice. Like, it's still going to play better than it did on the hardware back then. So it's like at some point we do have to just like have a cutoff and say we're going to go in that direction. I think Mac or Apple has done that like enough now, coming up on the M3 processor, that I think the rest of the industry is going to have to follow suit at some point. Like, there's no way for Intel and AMD to just keep cranking out x64 architecture moving forward and get away with it. Like, I just don't see it happening.
I think on the consumer side, yes, I think you're right. I think that in like high end stuff, there's still a place for some of this.
Price and memory expansion, I'll give you that all day long. Like that's one nice thing about the x64 architecture is you can address like a gajillion gigabytes of memory, right? Like thousands and thousands and thousands of terabytes of memory. Like, we're nowhere even close to the limits of what it can address.
It's outrageous now.
And it's cheap because it's modular and it's off chip. Whereas when you're talking about ARM, you can have off chip RAM with ARM too. But one of the big strengths with like the M1 and the M2 is that they basically put the RAM right on the chip because it's so damn small. And then it acts more like an L2 cache or an L3 cache. So now your RAM, your entire system RAM, is basically like VRAM on your graphics card. Super fast.
With the way RAM speeds have been increasing, we're not really that far off from, in my mind, an almost like full on smush together of not just like your RAM as like what instructions you're dealing with right now, but like your whole storage like configuration will be so fast that like your page file kind of a thing, right? It won't be any different. Your volatile memory and your non-volatile memory will all be the same.
That would be awesome.
It'll just read. I mean, look at M.2. The only I'm no engineer or anything, but really the only reason it's as slow as it is because it's so fucking far away from the CPU.
You physical distance matters.
If you get M.2s as close as you can RAM chips, why wouldn't it be?
Well,
it could be just as fast.
So for non-volatile memory, there is a pretty big performance hit. Even if it was close to the CPU, you'd still have a big performance hit just based on how the technology works.
Sure.
But what would stop you from just using RAM that's backed up by a low current, like a battery or something, like they used to do with the old SSD? You know, the before
like
SSDs, they used to have RAM drives, right?
Yeah.
Like imagine if your system was just one giant RAM drive where it's like your storage, your
that's kind of what I was getting at. Yeah. And you would need some sort of constant power flow, but so what? Yep. Like my Game Boy does that. Why not?
Yeah. Price is the only thing that really stops that. Like once they could get to the point where they can produce the non-volatile memory, not storage, but memory that could also be used as storage.
Yeah.
Then everything was just going to move to something where it's like always on. Everything's just in RAM. You don't have to load something from memory. Right. You literally just address it and it's there and everything's there. And I used to do that actually back in the day. And I don't know why I don't do it anymore. I really should do this and do a video on it because you guys would love it. Nobody uses RAM drives anymore. Hardly ever. Yeah. It's an enthusiast thing. Right, and funny? Back in the day, RAM drives were everything, man. Like back in the 286, 386, 486 era, RAM drives were huge. And you can still do it today. Like
it's ridiculous fast memory that they it was some weird sort of memory chip that didn't ever go anywhere because it was wicked expensive. It was basically like L2 cache, but on a stick.
Octane? Was it
no, older than that. And I might be getting it mixed up with what you're saying because RAM drive is like a software thing, right? Like it was
So yeah, it's basically you take memory, addressable memory, like really fast DRAM, right? You can also do it with VRAM, by the way. There's a utility for Nvidia. I saw that you can make a RAM drive with your VRAM. I haven't tried it yet, but I kind of want to because VRAM is so much faster than DDR4. It's like 2 generations ahead. But basically what a RAM drive is, you're taking a portion of your physical memory in your computer and then mapping it to a drive letter with a file system. So like NTFS or FAT32 or exFAT. And then what you do is you basically use it as a drive, but when you turn the computer off, it gets flushed, just like your memory.
That's what it was. Rambus.
Oh, yeah.
Rambus.
Oh, dude, I have Rambus.
Thank you, Net Guy Reviews. Rambus.
I had Rambus, but to be fair, modern DDR4 kicks the shit out of Rambus in like every possible conceivable way.
But it was an interesting change to how things were done.
Very expensive.
And it was wicked fast at the time, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I had a Rambus system, and I remember the memory was 3 times the cost of the next slightly slower RAM. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
They look cool, though. The RAM modules really look cool. They had like shielding and stuff on them.
It's still a product. Like they still fucking make DDR5.
So back to the RAM drive thing, though. What you could do with RAM drive is you could basically just allocate a drive letter. And then you'd say this much of my physical system memory I want to allocate is a drive. And then you create the drive letter and then you copy stuff into it. And then everything that you run from that drive is already in memory. So it's like instantaneous. Like even if it loads it into memory, all it's doing is changing the pointer. So it's not having to like actually copy and duplicate. It can literally just go, point over there. That's where the memory is. And you're going to go super fast, super fast. And so like in my case, I have 128 gigs of memory in this system when it was originally built. And that was because, the Puget Systems hooked me up and just maxed everything out for the day. And so 128 gigs of RAM, I rarely use that whole chunk of memory. Like it's fairly hard to use 128 gigs of RAM unless you're running something specifically. Like some of the AI operations I do can get away with it, but because of how slow the RAM is for those operations, it's not really worth it anyways. I could take 64 gigabytes of that if I wanted to, allocate it to a RAM drive, right? So on my system, and then what I could do is I could copy over all the apps that I use the most, like Microsoft Edge, OBS Studio, a couple of games that take forever to load, like Flight Simulator or whatever. I could take like the core modules, like even just the biggest part of it. Like let's say there's just a WAD file or something in the game that's just really big, but the overall game's too big to put in the RAM drive. I could copy that over to my RAM disk when the computer boots up, like write a script that just copies all that stuff to the RAM drive and then create symbolic links so that the file still looks like it's on the regular drive, but anything that touches it will be redirected over to the memory drive to load it really, really quick. And then what you would effectively have is your computer would act like everything was just loaded in memory. Like you click on Photoshop, it would just pop open even if it was the first time you were ever opening it.
Yeah.
And everything would be just super, super instantaneous. I'd actually be curious what would happen if I allocated like 32 gigs of my 128 gigs to a RAM drive and then just put the page file on it. Because then Windows would effectively, the paging system would also be in memory. Now that seems counterproductive because like the reason it's going to the page file is because it's running out of memory. So you're just shooting yourself in the foot and getting the same thing. But that's not necessarily true, because the way that Microsoft uses the page file isn't just when you're out of memory. The page file gets used right out of the gate. Like, even if you don't utilize your full memory, the page file is still being used for a lot of things, even at a performance deficit in some cases. So I'd be curious to see like what the benchmarks would look like for like storage and loading and unloading apps and stuff by moving the page file, which is about, on my system, 16 gig, I think. Out of 128 gigs, 16 gig of it's allocated a page file by default. So that'd be really easy to do. I should try that just to see what happened. I'm genuinely curious what that would look like. But for stuff that you open all the time, like in my case, OBS Studio, all the mods, my projects for AI, like with the if I loaded those, man, that would save tons of time not having to load like a 26 gigabyte LLM each time. Oh yeah, like just create a 64 gig RAM drive and just dump all the LM Studio and the models that I have and everything on it. God, I'd be curious to see how fast that is. I'm gonna play with that. But if you guys want to play with a RAM drive, there's lots of tools that still do it. I think they got rid of the Windows tool though. There used to be a Windows native, or I should say DOS. It went all the way back to DOS, called like RAM. I think it was called RAM drive. Let's see here, Windows 11 RAM disk utility. I don't think there's an inbox one anymore. But I can ask. Oh, I can ask Copilot. Guys, I'm going to ask Copilot a question for like the first time in ever.
Soft Perfect RAM disk is a high-performance RAM disk application that lets you have a disk on your computer stored entirely in its memory. Softperfect.com.
You just have to remember that you have to restore
save your shit before you turn your computer off.
But there is a way that you can do it, because I remember back even in the early Windows XP days because I used to use Windows XP all the time. I would just create a script that would dump it. Like if you did shutdown, it would run a script that would copy it all back to the disk and then copy it all back on boot.
There's like, man, it'd be like a blink of an eye to load. Like I don't know about you'd still be slowed down like in multiplayer games and stuff, but if you were playing just like a pure offline single player game, like you'd have instant load screens and stuff. It'd be just,
you would. Like, because by default,
it's all right there, ready to go. Yeah, like you ever wonder why? As a good example of this, I've been playing through Mass Effect Legendary Edition. It's like the whole trilogy, right? And playing through the first one, they would hide like level loading behind like elevators and stuff. Yep. And even that, my machine's so fast that they would play like a news clip or something while like as the elevator music, and it pops up like 2 or 3 seconds into the thing. Boop! It says you can skip this now, and I'm like, man, this would have been like 3 minutes back on my fucking Xbox or whatever. And same kind of deal, man. It would be instant. Poof! Practically open world. It'd be cool.
Yep. Oh, Hi asked if I'm working on any AI projects. As a matter of fact, I am. That's why I got the graphics card. So check this out. Here, I want to tell you guys about how I got it, by the way, because I think this is kind of a cool story. So I did steal it.
Beat somebody up.
So I asked Puget Systems if they'd hook me up with one, and they said, no, fatty, go home.
Who are you?
And so I broke into their building.
Who this?
So then I broke it. I basically sent a pizza to John Bach's house, and then when he left, I broke into Puget Systems and stole 3 of them. I had to drop 2 on the way to the car though, because there were some donuts, and
they're heavy. I don't blame
very
you.
Heavy. Yeah. No. So check this out. This is a great story. I'm honestly like over the moon that this happened the way it did, because I didn't expect anything. So, and I'm going to tell you guys, this is an amazing story. Okay, so you guys, I'm going to regale you with this. So, who here knows EVGA Jacob in the community?
I do. Although he's not with EVGA anymore.
Yeah, right. Now he's Nvidia.
I think he's Nvidia Jacob now.
He now works at Nvidia. He works directly for the man. So everybody in the community, pretty much in the gaming community, knows EVGA Jacob. Or back when he worked at EVGA, he was basically like their marketing evangelist guy. He was the guy. At every trade show you went to, I've got videos of me giving him back, like piggyback rides around, different packs and stuff like that. Amazing guy. You will never meet a nicer guy except for maybe Joel Telling. And so me and him go way back. Well, EVGA stopped making Nvidia GPUs. His thing at EVGA that he was known for was GPUs. So Nvidia picked him up when that went under. So now he works directly for the man, and it was a perfect fit. He loves the job. Everything's great. So I messaged it. I've been trying to get a 4090 through various different avenues for about 3 or 4 months now, that I've really been trying like behind the scenes to figure out, hey, can I find somebody who could get me one cheap, or can I find somebody who'll loan me one for an extended period of time? and I was just coming up dead on everything, right? And I couldn't really afford to go spend $2,000 on a GPU. Like it wasn't possible. I mean, I'm still working with 3 broken screens. I got 3 broken 4K screens with like burn-in on them and shit connected to 4090. It's hilarious. But I really wanted the 4090 for AI stuff because I've been really limited in what I can do with VRAM,
bro. Need that
Gotta get that VRAM. Gotta get that VRAM. So I message Jacob out of the blue, and I say, hey, bud, I know you're not working at EVGA anymore or whatever, but do you know, through the grapevine, all the guys, do you know of like any possible way that I could get my hands on a 4090 for AI stuff? Like these are the things I'm trying to do. And he messaged me back and he goes, hey, let me get back to you on that. I'll try to do something. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Okay. Maybe he'll give me an idea or point me in the direction. I said, and I didn't ask for anything. I just said, hey, do you know of a place where I can get a cheaper one? Like, I can't blow $2,000. And so he messages me back like a couple days later and he goes, hey, could you jump on a call with my marketing dudes over at Nvidia? And I was like, absolutely. Hell yeah, I'd like to. And, just an informal meeting, just talk it out, see if maybe there's something that could work out. And so I get on this call. I'm nervous as shit. I haven't been on a call in a while for like, talking to a company about, some kind of collaboration or trying to get a hold of some support for something. And so I get on this call and it's 5 marketing guys. Like I was like thinking it might have been like one dude, but it was 5 marketing guys and Jacob. And these guys were awesome. They were absolutely awesome. A couple of the guys in there knew who I was from, back when I was making YouTube videos. And they basically wanted to know like why I needed a 4090, like why I'm seeking that card instead of say like a 4080 or a 4070 or something else, entire quattro, right? And they offered me an A100, but I didn't take it because I don't have enough power supply. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. They offered me a 30 grand A100. I would have taken that in a second. So anyways, it was supposed to be a 20-minute meeting. They only had 20 minutes allocated for the meeting. 50 minutes later, everybody is still in the meeting and is just now starting to duck out, right? And I pitched my little heart out. I told them exactly what I wanted to do. I told them what my plans were for Barnabot and the robotic arm that I'm working on right now with HC Robotics. I just dumped on them, right? And it went so good that like 2 of the marketing guys were like, you know what? This is one of the funnest meetings I've been in the last year. Like 2 of the dudes just straight up said that. They said, this is one of the most interesting and fun meetings I've been in last year. And when it was all over, I was just kind of like buzzing. I was like, what the hell just happened? And the funniest thing about it is normally Nvidia, like, they have a contract and you got to sign a contract and everything for sponsorships. And, they have a media packet that they give you that's like, here's our goals and here's what we're going to do. It's common for all big companies like that. Intel does the same thing. AMD does the same thing. Yep.
Deliverables and all that.
So at the end of the meeting, they're like, we really don't have like an AI like plan for like AI marketing and evagelism and stuff for these video cards, for gaming video cards. He's like, so we don't really have that slot, but he's like, we'd like to. he's like, we'd love, to be evangelized, because he's like, people don't know about this yet. Like half the stuff they told me in the meeting, they're like everything you just told us here in this meeting, we didn't even know about it. Like, so that shows you how little people know about what they can do with these graphics cards other than play games. And so I told them that my goal is to evangelize that, just like I have been, like what you can do locally with AI, things like LM Studio, for instance. They didn't know that. Multimodal stuff, stable diffusion, XL, all the mods and stuff that you can do, deep fakes, voice cloning, all this stuff that people didn't know you could do on your computer instead of the cloud if you just have a sufficient enough GPU, right? And so they said they thought that was absolutely awesome. And it was funny. They're like, at the end, they're like, okay, well, we're gonna talk amongst each other and see if we can figure out, I don't know, some kind of plan or something, or maybe some video we can do later on or whatever. And I was like, okay. And I thought I kind of blew it. I was like, all right, guys, well, and they're like, oh, no, you misunderstand. You got the card. Hey, they're like, dude, you have the card like your first 10 minutes in here. Like, dude, it's like, nice. You have the hardware. He's like, we just don't really know. Like you're kind of blowing our minds. We don't really know what to do like right now. So we're going to figure it out and get back to you later. And they're like, we'll just send you out the hardware. Like, you don't need to, we don't have to do any contract or do anything like that or whatever. Just keep doing what you're doing. You'll have the hardware. And no shit, I got a thing in my email box that said that it shipped out like 20 minutes after the meeting was over. And then it arrived at my house the next day.
Wow.
So I don't know where it came from. I didn't look at the shipping manifest or whatever, where it came from. It must have been somewhere close, because it literally was like, I'm in a meeting. They're like, here, have a graphics card. And then like the next day it just shows up at my house. And I'm like, holy shit, like this is all happening so fast. And so I am eternally grateful to Mr. Jacob, formerly EVGA Jacob, now Nvidia Jacob, for getting me an audience with the marketing guys that had the ability to allocate something like that to me. And I just thought it was great that they really enjoyed what I was doing. Like one of the things that they really liked, and more to the point why I was telling you guys this story, is like some things that I'm going to be doing in the future with you. Is you guys remember Barnabot on my Twitch stream, the robot that kind of plays my co-host over there and is sassy and talks shit to people and stuff like that? Well, that has been running on OpenAI's back end. OpenAI's back end is super unreliable. Half the time it doesn't respond. The cloud goes down, it hangs. You have to query it multiple times. And most of the time it'll come back and Barnabot will be like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question because it's against the guidelines, or, oh, that's not very nice, I can't say that. So I was sick of that shit. LM Studio allows you to load a bajillion different models. They are almost, if not as good as GPT-4 right now, but you need a lot of VRAM to load the large parameter models, right? Now I have that VRAM. And LM Studio also exposes, like if I enable it, it exposes the entire LLM, whatever one I load, doesn't matter which one it is, to using OpenAI's API. So I can literally go into LM Studio, load a model like Llama, for instance, like 32B, like one of the big ones, and then I can turn on the OpenAI API emulation, and then my Barnabot Python script will now connect to my local instance instead of going to like, a paid API instance of OpenAI. And now while I'm live streaming, Barnabot can be using the GPU in my computer to fabricate all of its responses. And so now I have full control over what level of censorship it has. I have full control over which model it loads based on what type of questions are being asked. I can even switch models on the fly. So if Barnabot wants to answer a coding question, I can literally have it changed to a model that's better at coding questions right in the middle of doing something. And the responses are going to be way faster because with OpenAI, when I asked it a question to get the response back, I think it was like 4 tokens a second or something for GPT-4. Now I can get upwards with some of the models of like 30 or 40 tokens a second. So Barnabot's responses are going to be nearly instantaneous now instead of lagged. Nice. So I'm like, so awesome. That's what I'm super excited about, is now I'm going to have full and total control of the AI stuff on my side. And I'm also going to integrate that with HD Robotics Dexter Arm HD. Using some of the computer, I'm going to use AI computer vision. So it's going to have a GoPro on it, right? I'm always going to have a GoPro mounted on it. So it's like, if I use computer vision on that thing, I can do facial tracking. I can have it find my hands. I can have it I can have it do anything. I can have it find the keyboard on my desk. I can have it find a certain thing on the screen and track it. So if I have a window on the screen, I can have the robotic arm literally find the window and track it across the 3 screens when I'm streaming. So I'm going to basically slowly over time add functionality to the robotic arm so that it can kind of become Jarvis. I want Jarvis from Iron Man, and now I have the processing power and the VRAM to do that. And not only that, but this 4090 has so much surplus power. It is ridiculous, dude. Like I ran a hardcore synthetic benchmark the other night, and it took 5 instances of it to get the GPU to 100% utilization, and I still never got the temperature to hit 70 C. It was like 68, 69 at 100% running for hours. And I even overclocked it like another, I think I went plus 300 on the core and 700 on the memory, and it's still rock stable, no artifacts after like hours and hours of pressure on it. And the funny thing is, the 3080 that I had in there before, with one instance, I was able to hit 100% on it, and it would get up to 87 degrees C, which is pretty toasty. And so I'm shocked by how much headroom that 4090 has. Like, they must really bin the hell out of the chips for that thing. Like, they're definitely hanging on to the best chips for that, because the fact that I can just take that thing out of the box and overclock the ever-living shit out of it is on just air and still have it not even come close to the temperatures I'm hitting with stock clocks on a 3080. That's pretty mind-blowing. And it also has a better media encoder. I didn't even know this. By the way, this is news to me. So I didn't know this.
A1, I think, right?
Yeah, A1 and high efficiency codec.
Yeah. So I mean, it's been good at the NVENC thing for a while.
Now, is that all the 4 series cards or just the 4090?
I don't know. I want to say all of them.
I want to say it makes sense to me. So oh yeah, and that's right, it has a dual encoder too. So you have 2 separate encoders, so you can be encoding 2 keys at the same time.
Just to put it out there for anybody, any enthusiasts out there who want like AV1 or looking at what do they call it, long GOP codecs and stuff, just buy a cheap Intel Arc card. If you don't already have an Intel CPU with QuickSync. Yep. Buy the cheap, not the 300s, but the cheapest 700 Arc card. and your base, it's not as good as QuickSync, but it'll get you there. And you
no, but I've heard
it as
for
an
like
accelerator.
You just as a media encoder, it's worth the money though. Like I've people have said that with like what was it? Premiere. So Adobe Premiere. Yeah, so Adobe Premiere is weird how they do their hardware acceleration. Like they don't fully support it like DaVinci Resolve does.
Right.
But when it comes to Intel's architecture, for some reason, I don't know if it's because they just built it from the ground up using that architecture, but they supported a hell of a lot more than things like CUDA.
Yeah.
So you get a lot more performance out of it.
Smash of weird shit. Like,
yeah. So, but I opened up the encoder on this 4090 just today and found this out that it has 2 encoders. So I can basically have 2 programs running because it only says 50%. Like if I go into GPU performance, it will only go to 50% when I'm encoding. And then if I encode a separate stream at the same time, then the second one kicks in. So I can be encoding, at 100% on both streams. So I can be live streaming and encoding something like a video game. Let's say I'm playing a video game. I can be encoding that while also encoding another video stream at the same time for the compositing and then send it out through OBS without beating on the CPU. But it also supports the AV1, which the 3080 did not. The 3080 only supported H.264. That was it. This thing supports AV1 and HVENC, which is the high efficiency H.265 codec that things like YouTube, use now. So I was like, this is awesome. So now if I go to a website, which websites have all pretty much switched to H.265, like everywhere I've gone, H.265 is like reign supreme, right? Yeah. So now I got hardware decoding for that, so the CPU doesn't have to kick in and take over that duty. But I was like, man, I did not even think about that when I was going after this card, that it had like so much more capability in the encoding and decoding department, which is great because a lot of the stuff I do with AI is analysis of video. And if you're doing analysis of video, when you have to use CUDA to decode something because the encoder, decoder, or whatever isn't capable of it on the card, you're just eating up that bandwidth that you could be using for the actual AI operations against it. Now, because I have this, I can crack open a file. I can be like live decoding AV1 or live decoding H.265, and then freeing up the entire sum of tensor cores just to do the AI operations analysis on each frame of the video, which is pretty damn cool. Like that also gives you another boost in performance on top of what was already there. But I tried it with stable diffusion just to kind of get. So I wanted to see how much of a difference this would be on my old hardware, because I did fear a bottleneck. Because keep in mind, I'm running on a 2018, I think is when you guys built this, early 2018.
Probably something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So early 20. So we're talking about a five-year-old system, right? A little more, probably closer to 6-year-old system. Yeah. It's got 128 gigs of RAM, but it is DDR4. It's not DDR5. It is PCIe 3, not PCIe Gen 4, right? So like, modern SSDs, like even my PS5 supports, this drive, whereas my computer would only be able to use PCIe 3 and never hit that target. So, so it is showing its age, right? The computer. However, I thought it was going to be a massive bottleneck. It turns out it really wasn't for the AI stuff at all, because I was able to open Stable Diffusion and do a side-by-side apples comparison, same hardware, same software, same versions of drivers, everything. I didn't change anything. All I do is pop out one card and pop in the other card and run the same tests. And I was able to get a 4x speed improvement on Stable Diffusion out of the box with just using plain CUDA. I'm not even using TensorRT. If I use TensorRT, it would be another factor again better. But just using that, I got 4x the performance. So when you think about a 4090 just out of the box doing Stable Diffusion without any tweaking, anything like that, is 4x the performance of a single 3080. So I would need 4 3080s to generate the same diffusion that I can do with one 4090. The other thing is the VRAM, because I have so much of it, on a 3080, if I try to create a diffusion that's any bigger than like 512 by 512, it'll run out of memory. It just runs out of memory. But now I can go all the way up and max it out at 2048 by 2048, which is the max setting Stable Diffusion supports out of the box for pixel diffusion. Because remember, each time you go up in resolution, that's how much harder the what do they call it? Is it the diffuser or the algorithm that creates the diffusion that basically does like the ink blot test? The more resolution you have, it exponentially creates more processing power that's needed to create the diffusion, because it's having to look over the entire image many more pixels over and keep that in memory. So it eats a shitload of memory. And so I did a diffusion at 2048 by 2048 that took up 24 gigabytes of VRAM. And I only have 10 gig on the 3080. So that would have just crashed the system. Like I wouldn't even begin that operation. And I was able to render the entire thing. I want to say it took 40 seconds with 50 steps using one of the most hardcore sampling methods, doing a 2048 by 2048 diffusion that wasn't even possible on the 3080. And I did it within the same time that the 3080 took to just do one 512 by 512 diffusion that was way simpler with only 20 passes. So it just, I don't know. When I look at this thing, I'm like, now I can do multiple AI operations at the same time. I can do multiple encoding operations at the same time. I can game and live stream. I should be able to live stream a VR content and encode it and stream it out to you guys without it negatively impacting the video game performance itself or creating micro stutter. I haven't tested that yet, but on paper that should work. All of the benchmarks, I can just run multiple instances. Like I didn't even know you could do that before. Like I opened up Combustor and I ran 8 different Combustor tests, like Furmark, the physics test for the PhysX capability of the card, a couple other ones that just stress test the GPU. And then I added some that stress test the CPU too, because I wanted to run the system to max load to see if it exceeds my power supply, because I want to make sure that under any condition it doesn't just crash. And I just ran that shit for hours and hours and hours, no problem. The computer was absolutely fine. Didn't have a single artifact. It was scanning the screen looking for artifacts. So if my memory overclock was too high, it would have shown itself. Just rock stable doing this. And I was just like, man, on my 3080, if I opened up more than like one instance of these tests, because one test would already push it to 100% GPU.
Yep.
So if I opened up like 2 or 3 of them, it'd start micro stuttering, and then the system would start getting unstable.
Get those out of memory errors.
Yep. So and now it's like it's hard to even get this thing to 100% from a single operation. Like most of the benchmarks I run only take it to about 75 to 80% usage, whereas on the 3080 everything hit 100%. Yeah. And I don't really know why that is. Like I'd figure if it could that it would just use 100% by default regardless, even if it could just eke out a couple more frames per second. But somehow I don't think that's how the 4090 works. I think that the 4090 is more balanced and focused on doing multiple things at a time instead of just doing one thing really, really super fast. It can, but just from my testing, it's like very few things I did do it pushed it to 100% exactly. Most of the stuff I did would only get it to like 80 or 90% unless I opened multiple instances. I wonder if other people have had that problem. And I did check my numbers. I checked my benchmark numbers against other people that were in the what is it called, the Combustor database and Heaven benchmark database and 3D Mark, Time Spy Extreme. And I looked at my scores compared to other people's scores, and if you take CPU score out of it and you just look at GPU score, I was right on the money within, give or take 1,000 of the people that are running modern generation processors with PCIe 4, DDR5. So when it comes to just raw GPU benchmarking power, it seems like my motherboard CPU combo that I have in here from 2018 isn't slowing me down a bit. So I'm sure there's operations that won't be true, but I'm pretty damn surprised by that. So yeah, keep an eye out for after the holidays are over and we start getting going on the Twitch stream again. Barnabot is going to make a return. So, and plus I'm going to unbox that robotic arm too. That robotic arm I'm pretty psyched about.
That's going to be so much fun. That's going to be so much fun.
So I'm going to mount it. So I figured out what I was going to do. I'm going to go, those hard mounts that they have for tripods for like big heavy cameras. They're like a V mount
frame kind of thing.
Yeah. You like slide a thing in and you turn it and like locks it into place so that it's not going to fall off.
Yeah.
So what I was thinking about doing is Dexter Arm has a screw mount on the bottom, like for the larger screw mount for like bigger cameras for tripods and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
So you can mount it on tripod. I was like, what if I mounted it on one of those plates so I could just slide it into the carrier and lock it in place?
Like a cold shoe or whatever it's called?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Like a really strong cold shoe.
I can't remember.
So if I could get one of those and then mount it like on my ceiling over my computers, like, just right up above my head here, like Gladys from, Portal, I could run a power, because all it needs is power networking. That's it. Right. Sure. So I can run a power network cable up, discreetly through a conduit. And then what I can do is just put the arm on there, plug in the 2 cables, boom. Now I've got Dexter Arm in my room. Now I want to go down to the makerspace and I want to use it to like take prints off the beds and, prepare the printers so that I can set up manufacturing. So that's one thing Dexter Arm is really
arm gonna come in there and like take the print off and go put it over there. That'll be cool.
It can even sort the parts. It could print like 20 different parts and like pull each part and put it in its like own little bin and then clean the plate, reprep it, and run another set.
Nice.
And so if I want to do that, then all I have to do is put a hot shoe down there, in the position next to the 3D printer, just mark stuff on tables so that everything's in relative position. And then all I have to do is take the arm down there, put it in the shoe, lock it in place, plug in the 2 cables, do the calibration to the same point so it knows where it's at in space. And then the same script should work. I should be able to go between multiple environments and do different things. But then I was thinking, I was like, you know what? I want to take this to the next level. Like, I want to do shit with Dexter arm that I originally wanted to do, but couldn't because the old Dexter arm, I blew that servo out and didn't fix it.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what I should do is I should put a plate over my, like on the headboard of my bed. That I can put Dexter arm on it, and then I can give Dexter arm like a stick with like a feather or something on the end of it, have it actually give me like a back tickle or something. like I'm gonna have Dexter arm where I can mount it on my headboard, plug in the 2 cables, and just run a program. And then I'm gonna have it use computer vision with a GoPro so that it can scan where my body is and the position of my body, and literally just create a random pattern to cover 100% of my body, like dragging a feather or something soft across my back. So I can just relax, put in some music, and just get myself a little happy time with old Dexter arm. And then who knows, maybe you know, you flip over and use a different computer vision algorithm. You know, I'm not saying, but I was like, I want to get as much usage out of Dexter arm as humanly possible. So I want to make it modular and easy to move from point to point. And it doesn't require a ton of power. Like it's not massively power hungry. So it'd be easy to position different power supplies in different locations. It can also run on battery too. I think it's like, it can run on some ungodly, like anything from, I think it's like 10 volts or something, all the way up through like 24 volts. So it's really like, it'll run off a car battery. It'll run off a solar array. It'll run off of like a ton of different power sources without you having to do any kind of like conditioning or inverting. And so I was like, because of that, you know, I could even have a portable battery box that could connect up to Dexter arm and a Wi-Fi thing. So it can just, so my phone can connect directly to it with a little Wi-Fi dongle. And I can even take Dexter arm if I want to, and like go, you know, take it outside with a magnet and mount it on my car. And there's just so many things. God, oh my God. I was thinking about so many things you could do with this thing. So what about a force feedback flight simulator controller?
Yeah, sure.
So think about it. Dexter arm has 5 axes out of the box. You can add more to it, but it has 5 axes, and it has like a 6-foot radius that it can reach, like 3 feet in both directions, right?
Oh,
so
okay,
everything within its dome. So it's like 6-foot radius it can manipulate. So I was like, if I wanted to do a helicopter simulator in VR, right? I could put it on the floor in front of me, mount it to the floor, like put some sandbags on it, have Dexter arm fully extend itself straight up to me, 3D print a handle for a helicopter, like a grip for a helicopter joystick, mount it on the top of Dexter arm, and with all the optical encoders and motors and everything, it can feel forces and push back on you and everything. I could just write an HID driver for it and literally have a joystick that's like force feedback, like when you fire it, like kicks back on you. You know, have like the aerodynamic stuff in the model and everything pushing on the joystick and stuff. So it'd actually be like a real helicopter collective. And I'd be pushing against it, they'd be pushing back. And I was thinking about it. I was like, dude, you could do that for an airplane too. Because for an airplane, I could 3D print a yoke, a flight yoke. Yeah. I could have Dexter arm cut 4 axes up and then 1 axis sideways, come towards me, then put the wheel on it, and the wheel would be able to go like this, turn that axis and push forward and back for the whole arm to move. And I could use the force feedback or whatever to simulate an actual control for. And so in VR, it'd be like I could fly airplanes, I could fly helicopters, I could reconfigure it for everything. It could even be a racing wheel. I mean, it's not gonna have a ton of force, like it's not gonna have the force of like a dedicated wheel motor, because I think it can only lift about 3 kilograms. But still, I mean, if you put a wheel on it, it does have an axis that can rotate around. You know, every axis can rotate around. So you can literally say, just put the steering wheel like right here, push a button, and it would automatically maneuver right to that spot. And then as you turn it, you could even have it, you know, emulate all the forces and everything. So I was like, dude, this is going to be awesome. I mean, I could make it into a shifter. I could make it into a handbrake for a racing simulator. Like, that's the cool thing, is it's like, it works both ways. It's not just a robotic arm. It's also an input mechanism, because the optical encoders and the motors in it and everything allow me to set resistant forces, how much it pushes back on me. It can sense when it contacts with something or pushes against something. I mean, it's just like, oh my God, you could do anything with it. I love that you brought up the fleshlight. No shit. That was the first thing that I told him.
Man, he's the why is it shaped like a mouth?
So the first thing I asked, okay, so first of all, Haddington Dynamics was started by 2 guys, Kent and Todd, very awesome guys. First time I ever met them was in Las Vegas at CES. And these guys are awesome. Like these are guys, like there's nothing you're gonna say to them that's gonna put them off. Like these guys have crude sense of humor and everything. I love it. And so very first thing I asked them when they gave me the first Dexter arm is, I said, am I gonna break this thing if I put a fleshlight on it? And they looked at me and said, oh no, it absolutely does work. And he winked at me. He goes, no, it 100% works. He said it will. He said, but can I make a recommendation? And I was like, certainly. He's like, just put a little bit of counterweight ballast on the back of it so that it can apply more of the forces towards you than having to hold up the flashlight. And I was like, rock on. Never got around to testing it. You guys know for a fact I'd tell you if I did, though. Like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, you're just saying that. No, I will it will happen one day, and when it does, I will tell you about it. You guys know, like, I have no shame in any of that department. So but they did say, yeah, it will work for that. So Dexter arm technically could wield that or any number of toys, female or male, and manipulate them any way that you want. But not only that, it can actually feel forces. So you wouldn't have to worry about like some of the toys that look like they could literally impale you if you slipped and put you in the emergency room. This thing would actually be able, you could set a force, and if that force was exceeded, even in just like grams, it will automatically like shut down or retract.
Nice.
So you know, and if you think about it, I was looking at like some of these toys are expensive, like that Sibian thing. It's like fucking like $2,000 or some shit.
Yeah, man.
And so I'm like, okay, well, just go buy a freaking Dexter arm, and that thing can come. Put a GoPro on it, and it'll find you. You don't even have to go to it. Like damn thing will lay within its radius, and it will find a way to figure out how to get to you and do its thing. Like that seems like that's the better money. That's all I'm saying. I just don't know how you can buy one. That's the thing. I got to talk to him about that because I went to the HD Robotics website. And they used to have a shopping cart where you could just add it to the shopping cart and buy it. Either they'll build it or you can buy a kit and build it yourself. Yeah. Or you can just download the instructions and build it from scratch. It's all off the part of the harmonic drive they use, all the 3D models, the FPGA code, all of it's all open source and just given to the public. HD Robotics just got acquired, I think 3 years ago by a parent company. I can't remember the name of it, but they also own a couple of other robotics companies. Yeah. And so, but they still didn't undo the GPL. The GPL is still in place. So because HD Robotics said they always wanted their arm to be accessible to everybody. That was like the big thing for them, is for at-home manufacturing and stuff like that. So you can still technically build one today and get the plans to build one. But I was like, you used to be able to just add one to a shopping cart and buy it. And when I went to their website, I didn't see that anymore. They still have a shopping cart, but they don't have a place that's like added to the shopping cart. So I don't know if they're out of product right now, or if it's something else, like maybe now they just sell through like commercial channels, or you have to go to like a specific place to buy the kit. You know, some places do that now instead of selling directly.
Yeah, contact us first kind of thing.
Yeah, so when I start making videos on it, I'll make sure I get that sorted out, because last time I could tell people where to go. They were like, oh my God, where can I get one? And I could just tell them right where to go and buy it, and they could do it. Now I don't know how to do that. So people are going to be frustrated if they're like, oh, I want that on my live stream, because I want you guys to know anything that I create for Dexter Arm, anything I create for the 4090 here is all going to be open source.
Nice.
Anything that I create from this point on using technology that was given to me by other companies and stuff, I'm going to use that to further the education of everybody else and give everything I do back to the community in exchange for them adding their own stuff to it and giving it back. Like, I want to feed into that model more than anything. The only thing that I will ever keep proprietary is if some point along the line I come up with something that is so innovative and doesn't draw. This is almost impossible this will ever happen, but if it does, if I come up with something that is so innovative that has never been done before and isn't derivative in any way or builds on top of somebody else's open source architecture, that would be the only time in which I might retain it and license it in such a way that I could take care of my family and make a living off of it. But even in that case, I would still make sure that it was available to anybody that asked for it, just to give them a license. Like if they couldn't afford it or it was educational use, or so, I'd make sure that it was available to everybody. But as unlikely as that is ever to happen, because I prefer to build on top of other people's architecture, that's probably not going to happen. But if it does, I just want people to know that, yeah, if you message me and just say, hey, you know, I'm broke ass and I can't afford shit, but I want to play around with your source code or with your, I just give it to people and just say, here you go. You got a license, knock yourself out. God, that would be awesome if I could be in a position to do that. But one thing I don't believe in doing though is when people help me out and they give me the, like, if I go and get an open source project from GitHub and I fork that and I create something special on top of it, I believe that and legally I'm required to, but I also believe that I owe the community back my advancement. Like I couldn't have done it without you. So therefore what I create is yours. You know, it's like that's how GPL is supposed to work. And I believe in that model, and I want to push that model forward because I feel like a lot of people have been abusing that lately, and it's not fair. It's really not fair. Oh, go ahead. There's so many companies right now out there that are just blatantly stealing from open source, getting caught stealing from open source. and then closed sourcing their own project and using it to undersell their competition that made their product possible in the first place, which then will drive their competition out of business, which means now their source of what made their product possible is gone, meaning any future product they create now they would have to develop on their own and incur those costs, which now means you have to pay for a more expensive product than you would have had you not fallen for the scam in the first place. So I really, really want to prop up GPL. I really want to do my due diligence to make sure that more people understand open source, why it's a good thing, why people should, feed into it, and we should work together towards common goals and only keep the stuff that's truly proprietary to ourselves that gives us advantage instead of stealing from somebody else and changing the name of a couple things and calling it our own. That ends up killing innovation in the end. It ends up discouraging a lot of people and sets us back by huge leaps and bounds. The other things also driving me nuts that I want to talk about while I'm thinking about it is, did you guys see Tom's Hardware gave Bambu's A1 3D printer that only was out for 7 days? Like literally wasn't even known before that. Like 7 days, like full embargo, full lights out to all the reviewers, everything. 7 days in, they announced their printer was the 3D printer of the year. Now, I don't know. I know Tom's Hardware used to be like a really credible publication, but does anybody find that a bit odd? Not just because of Bambu. It could be any company or any product. But don't you think that's a little fucked up that they're naming a product the product of a year when it hasn't even been in customers' hands for more than 7 days? Like that to me just reeked of them being paid off, or there being some kind of deal there, or some kind of motivation, or maybe it's an affiliate link or something that they're linking to. I don't know. But I found that was just really, really bizarre, because I'm like, you're talking about naming product of the year for 3D printing when there's 1,000 other 3D printing products that have come out over the last 11 months. And you're just automatically going to take one that's been out for a whole whopping 7 days that has only shipped a couple thousand of units, and you're going to name that the product of the year. That seems really fucked up to me. Like, even if it's a great printer, and it is, I've talked to a lot of people say it's a good printer, but I'm just saying the amount of time it's been out, especially when you consider, some of the things that are being asked of them that they're blatantly ignoring, some of the security problems that they've had, some of the questions about data and privacy that have come up that they're unwilling to answer. It just seems really weird to me that Tom's Hardware would put their name up like that and just be like, oh yeah, product of the year, like absolute product of the year. There's other printers, there's other AMS multi-material systems out there. There's even ones that are completely open source. I just don't understand why they would just jump to that conclusion. Like, did they try everything else that was out there? Like, because I don't know. It just seemed shitty to me. I keep seeing more and more stuff that just makes me look at Bambu and go, what the fuck are you guys doing over there? I've asked them tons of questions. I've sent them 8+ emails over the last year. Haven't got a response to a single one. Then a friend of mine who actually had one of their printers, I said, hey, could you email this address and just see if they respond to you? Sure shit, he gets a response immediately when he messages them about his printer that he already bought. Say, oh yeah, I love this printer. Like, hey, is there any way I can get a coupon to get a cheaper one or whatever? They reply immediately within 24 hours. Oh yeah, no, sorry, we don't have a coupon right now, but hey, we really thank you for your feedback and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, that was a good response. Why the fuck don't I have a response to my 8 emails? I even sent them from different email addresses, the same questions from different email addresses, no answers. And then I found out on Twitter the other night, I found a couple of comments where people are like, do you ever answer any emails like from this email address? And I responded to dude, and I was like, yeah, I can't get a response either. So it's like they only respond to things that shine them in a positive light. They won't answer any serious questions as they pertain to open source security, privacy, concerns, obtaining personal information, stuff like that. Nothing. They just lights out. They just ignore it. And so that's why it really bothers me when it's like Tom's Hardware is like, yep, that's the printer of the year. It's like, yeah, it's a great printer, sure, and it's a good price, but there's plenty of other bud slingers. There's nothing like linear rails have been used forever. This design for a bed slinger is no different than the designs before it. Like, it's like there's really nothing super revolutionary here other than it's exceedingly cheap. But my argument is it's exceedingly cheap because they had no R&D budget that they had to exhaust because they got a lot of that technology from other places that they shouldn't have. Again, that is my opinion, but I've asked them questions that would clear it up immediately, but they refused to respond. But the good news is I have been talking to a couple of people in the community that have been working on breaking the encryption, and there have been some big steps forward. And there have been some successful decryptions, so people do know some of the data that they are collecting. that does include stuff that they didn't say. Once they take it a step further and they crack open the firmware entirely, which as I understand it has happened, they just don't have symbols, so they have to go through and do and compare assembly instruction by assembly instruction, which is very arduous and takes forever. But once they go through that, they should be able to say without a doubt if they referenced code from Marlin or Clipper or any of the many other open source projects, including their AMS system doesn't do anything that's particularly special. There's been material change systems that are very similar to theirs, if not identical, in the open source domain for a very, very long time. It would have been easy for them to just grab onto, change a couple things, and just call it their own. That's why I hope that they do a third-party code review at some point. Shifting gears though, Joseph said, wow, they banned Boogie. This sucks. Yeah, did you guys see that? Better yet, did you guys see my response on X last night? Probably not, because X censors so much stuff now. Isn't it funny how Elon Musk takes over Twitter, renames it to X, says that he's all about freedom of speech, and now X algorithm, if you go look at the source code for the X algorithm on GitHub as it's published today, it is the most suppressive platform out of all of them. Like, even compared to prior Twitter before he took it over, it's like, not only is it not free speech, it is literally the most against free speech you could possibly be by comparison. Like, literally what you see on the platform has nothing to do with like who you follow anymore, the things that you most likely want to see. It's all based on an algorithm that drives you to the content that shines the platform in the best light and makes them the most money. It's freaking wild to me. I wish more people would do research like I'm doing, because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, free speech, oh, we love you, we're right behind you, and they just blindly throw out their support. But what they don't realize is, if you go look at the source code, that's not the case. It's actually super anti-free speech. Not that freedom of speech has anything to do with it anyways, because that the idea of freedom of speech is constitutional, and as it pertains to the government, it doesn't pertain to Elon Musk and whether people can say what they want or not. But I can tell you right now, it is a very censored platform, like exceedingly censored, to the point where I've even created alt accounts and have tracked things that I posted that were like completely inert, had no anger or violence behind it whatsoever, and it still didn't show up in my other profile I created specifically to follow myself and see what would show up in the feed. So it's getting pretty bad, guys. So if you haven't seen me posting on Twitter, it's not because I'm not posting. It's because you're not being shown anything I post. That's just how the algorithm works now. If you click on the top left of their website, it shows the price of their ARM as $11,000. Oh, it does? So you actually can you buy it? Yeah, the Dexter ARM HD is a whole different can of bananas. Like, that's the one that's all carbon fiber and everything.
Yeah, that's right, net guy. Get the fuck out.
That's did you see Boogie got banned from
only just somebody mentioned it in the chat, and I kind of pulled it up on Twitter and stuff. I mean, I imagine he'll get back, because like that whole thing was just ridiculous from the start. Like, what the fuck were they thinking? Artistic nudity? How did they not think that was going to get abused as hell? Like, come on. I would love to have been a part of just to listen in on that fucking boardroom meeting. Come on.
Yep.
Morons.
Let me be honest though, Boogie definitely pushed the button a little bit.
Of course
there.
He did, but still.
But he does. That's what he does, right? He even the Francis character did that frequently on YouTube, right?
Yeah, man.
So, but here's the thing that I want to point out. I wrote a big thread, and I bet nobody saw it because of the UX algorithm. I haven't checked honestly today because I just woke up and did the stream. But I wrote a huge thread that proves, I can prove 100% that Boogie did not show any genitalia, any nutsack, no penis, nothing.
I believe it.
I watched that video multiple times, more than I care to admit, full screen. Is my I had to be sure my boy wasn't lying about not breaking the rules. But I can tell you right now that what you saw in that video was not a nutsack.
I believe
what you in fact saw was something referred to commonly as a fupa. Okay, sure. So I think the scientific name for it is a pecular region. Was let's see here, fupa,
the vestigial pouch,
pecular
meat flap.
Yeah, what do you call it, the meat curtain or whatever, or the genital curtain. Yeah. So it's called a So pecular. Pecular, and fupa stands for fatty upper pubic area, but I think it's called a pecticular. Shit, I can't even remember. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart right now. I looked at it last night to look it up, and the reason that I know for a fact that that's what it is because I myself have one, not quite as bad as Boogie, but I have one myself, and I've had to go to physicals, and my doctor's looked at it, and he's explained to me exactly what it is and why it occurs and how you can get it fixed. I just haven't yet.
But I can tell you right now, you could not see Boogie's genitalia because it would be impossible for you to see Boogie's genitalia because he suffers from something called buried penis syndrome. Buried penis syndrome is where this peculiar fat pouch basically forms, and it's like a second belly. Basically, it's the area above your penis basically expands with fat, and then as that fat expands, it basically gets kind of like clogged up, almost like a lymphedema, and grows. And it retains fluid. And then what happens is over time, gravity pulls down on it. It effectively becomes like a breast or a belly that hangs.
Okay.
And then what happens is because that hangs, your penis is actually attached on the back to your pubic bone. So as that fat's pushing out and growing in that role, it retracts back the penis and pulls it back into a sheath of skin. So literally it's like inside of you. The only thing that's visible from the outside with that flap hanging like that is your balls basically. And even then, because his flap is so prominent, the balls are way up higher. You would have to literally be down between his legs looking up with the camera to even see his balls.
Sure.
So like I've said many times in my joke, when I'm joking on Twitch, I could run around outside with no clothes on around my neighborhood and no person could go to the police and show them evidence that my penis or balls was visible to anybody at any time unless they were directly underneath me. And I would win in court every single time because they could not prove that anything was shown in a single frame because it would be impossible. It'd literally be impossible unless somehow I managed to jump in just the right way, that my belly flew up, my little meat flap flew up, and then somehow I thrusted my hips forward and I had a boner. Then maybe if all of those things lined up in a perfect world, you'd be able to see something interesting. So I am going to be one of the few obese people in the community that's going to go out on the record and say Boogie's innocent. Okay. Yeah, what he did was obviously trying to poke at the artistic nudity thing, and he was trying to be Boogie. But I can tell you 100% that any reporting that anybody saw his balls was absolutely incorrect. And if you go watch again, you will notice that is not what balls look like.
Yeah, no, come
on. Smooth, fat, engorged skin doesn't look like a wrinkly, empty fat.
Like even the band thing is like, it just proves the point. It just proves the point. Like it was just dumb to have even considered like the body painting thing is about as far as you can go. Let's be real. That's about as far as you can go. And even like the hot tub bikini thing and all that whole meta thing was like, that's about the same level, really. And that's about as far as you can go. If you allow any sort of honest to goodness nakedness, like if you use the pornography razor, like you can't because what one person says is artistic is going to be porn to somebody else, and you can't. It's like what are you going to do? You're going to have some sort of moral council that's going to sit and vote on whether or not this is pornography or not. Like it when you see it, but that's going to be different for different people. And like there is a I'm sure we could come to an agreement of what like gratuitous, right? Like this is obviously not artistic, but I mean some people could claim that some porn is artistic too, because man, there's some very high production stuff out there, like that Pirates of the Caribbean parody that they put out that had like 3 sequels. Like those are fucking mega productions, and those like back in the early 2000s for you kids out there.
There's been movies in the movie theater where the actors did physically have sex in the movie. They just did not
that's the thing. I'm sure
specifically show it, but they did actually confirm that they had physical sex on camera in that scene, and it was still in a movie theater because you couldn't see it. But it was still implied, just like with what Boogie was doing. It was implied from the angles, right? But they do something called a blind angle in photography, or implied nudity, where it's like they're nude, but you can't prove it.
Look, you either spin off a whole different Twitch for it, because that's really the only way to do 18+ content. You can't have it on the same site.
And I'd also want to point out, if they don't unban Boogie, then they're going to probably have a lawsuit on their hands because they've actually unbanned.
I'm sure,
because I wanted to make sure they unbanned Amaranth already. Amaranth has been unbanned about a dozen times for flashing, and many of those times it did look like it was intentional. Pokimane has also accidentally flashed the camera. Alinity also many times banned and unbanned for flash, and hers is very much, when you go look, intentional. Like you can tell that she's specifically not wearing any underwear and putting herself into compromising positions after tips have been given. Like, oh, I'm gonna play with my doggy and pet him as I slowly roll over and try to show something 15 times in 5 minutes. So if those can all get unbanned for like an accidental flashing, Boogie didn't show anything. Like it looks like it's implied, right? But he didn't actually show anything, and because he didn't actually show anything, then technically it should be a lesser offense than what all those women did combined. So if they decide to like keep him banned permanently over that, that's just absolutely ridiculous, especially since he is a mature channel. Because I've gone to Boogie's channel before, and it's like, oh, this is a mature for 18 plus, blah blah blah, like Twitch's little thing, just like I have it enabled on my channel.
Yeah.
Is he unbanned yet? Let me see here. Boogie.
Doesn't look like it yet.
Let's see. Yep. Still, this channel is temporarily unavailable due to a violation of Twitch's community guidelines.
I think it was like just early. It was just like earlier today.
It was last night when I responded to it. Let me go see if he said anything about it.
Oh, something I saw that the stream was today. Right, the 23rd.
Dude, that microphone is so good. Whenever a door opens or a sound happens over there, it sounds perfectly spatial to my environment. It's creepy as fuck. Okay, let's see. Okay, so the last thing he said is Google demisexuality, you literal buffoon.
What?
Oh, he's replying to a guy named Immortal, said, I feel so bad for your girlfriend. No way she can genuinely enjoy being sexually with you. No, I can tell you for a fact that there's a lot of women that would enjoy being sexual with him, because a lot of people have everybody has different.
And didn't Boogie get one of the major weight loss surgeries and stuff? So he's probably got a lot of like loose skin.
He does have a lot of loose skin.
So I imagine that's what's happening. Is like some of that, because it's just reading over a quick Dexerto thing. And
as you get skin, your fupa, the less full it is with fat, like because fat does come out of your belly. Like, it does hang. It hangs down more and more.
Yeah.
Yep. And I actually, my doctor even said that he saw it, like when I get my physical and he looks at it and goes through and everything and digs around in my junk. He says that actually he's seen cases of it where the fupa has hung all the way down past the kneecaps, where a person gained enough weight. And also there's people that literally don't gain weight in their stomach. They just gain weight in their fupa. It's really weird. Like where they're just flat. Their stomach is like just a little bit bulged, but then they just have this giant freaking like meat flap down there. And a lot of it just has to do with like genetics and lymphedema and things like that. Just where you start retaining fluid, and it just keeps retaining and keeps growing. So, but the thing is, there's always people out there that are into weird and unique stuff. That's why I think it's funny. People are like, oh, they don't like my wife. When I met her, was this tiny, lanky, just tall, gorgeous blonde, and she was into big dudes. Like she didn't even want me to lose weight back then. She liked that I was a big dude.
Yeah,
like that was like her thing. So, granted, she'd probably like me to lose a little bit of weight now, because she doesn't want to literally get crushed to death. But oh shit. Okay, can you hold down the fort for a second? I got a call from my dad here.
Do it, man. Mute the mic.
Here, hold on just a second.
Sure, no, do your thing, man. Sure. Oh, that's kind of cool to hear, Tech Chef, that he was on. I like watching some of those Caleb Hammer things. That's fun. He's pretty fun. I like Caleb Hammer. Those are fun little shows and stuff. I feel like on the one hand, he's he can be a little mean, but at the same time, like I kind of get it. Like, it's like a built-in bum slider. Huh. But yeah, man, looking over this Boogie thing, I think again, like it's just, it's what did they expect? What did they expect to happen? It's just silly. I think Twitch is just scrambling, trying to figure out how to make more money. They're having a hard time of it. It's, what else are you gonna do? Oh, this clip's no longer available. Okay, so somebody pulled the clip off of Twitch. Somebody commented he's gonna find a way to blame this on Caleb being mean in the financial audit, and he's encouraging him to start streaming again. Twitch is crap nowadays. I agree. I think it really this is just more of a personal thorn in my own side. Is I think it started going downhill years ago when they moved the creative like section off of like the main, like it used to be. I haven't even like watched anything on Twitch in a long time. Let me I've got to pull up the website to see what I'm talking about. So like in the upper navigation bar, it says like following, browse, discover Luna, whatever the fuck. Oh, that's Amazon's like cloud gaming thing. Used to have like creative and different categories like that up there. they moved creative down to like the hamburger or the little drop down menu and stuff, like where they have like music and other stuff. That to me was like the signal that Twitch really wasn't caring much about their creators. And after that, it's just kind of gotten worse. What's your social media according to Facebook? Posted some sort of rule violating content just now. Notification to tell me what they removed. I posted nothing. I don't know. Instagram, I posted a sarcastic response to something that Barnacules put up on Instagram, and they banned me for a day. It wasn't even like I don't even think I cussed in it. I didn't even use like curse words or anything. It was just I was just being snarky, and they banned me for a day. This is since Amazon bought them. Yes, yeah. Although I do think that there hasn't really been much like influence from Amazon in a corporate sense. I do think that there's pressure from Amazon to like turn a profit or whatever, but I don't think that it's really like Amazon management that is fucking with Twitch. It's just it's Twitch, man. They don't care. They don't listen to there was supposed to be like a council, like a council of streamers who are supposed to like be in on like the major changes and rules and stuff that were supposed to help like inform these things so that like they made sense to the creators of it, and that like never went anywhere. They were supposed to be like more transparent about that kind of stuff. They were supposed to not ambassadors. That's like a whole different kind of thing, but it's just, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. It's ridiculous. And it still kind of works and stuff, but it's not what it used to be, man. It's not. The people just aren't there. The care isn't there anymore. Who is this? So I'm just like looking at my messages. Somebody messaged me on Thursday. It's kind of sad, man. Like even me, you have a awesome Christmas, my dude. Thanks, you too. I hope you do, at least. Part of me is like, wants to do PC building and stuff on YouTube. Oh, that was his. It's crazy.
Hey guys, things aren't going so good.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, no, my daddy's still struggling with shit.
Oh no. Hey man, if you gotta go.
Yeah, let's go ahead and shut her down.
No, that's
here.
Good, man. That's good.
He's okay. He's not like in the hospital dying or nothing, but he's doing way worse than I thought he was.
No.
And,
oh no.
So I gotta call him back.
We'll wrap it up here, man. You gotta take care of business.
Yeah,
dude. Holy cow.
All right, you guys have I'm sorry. You guys have a Merry Christmas, and I'll catch you over on X and update you when I can.
Yeah, dude.
All right, take it easy, guys.
Yeah,
bye.
Go.
Sorry.